Every day, problems show up in ways we don't expect. They can be big, small, simple, or complicated, but they all demand our attention. Most people feel stressed, frustrated, or stuck when facing challenges, and that makes solving them even harder. This audiobook is about learning a clear, practical way to face any problem with a calm mind and steady approach. It is designed to help you stop feeling overwhelmed, regain control, and move forward with confidence. You will discover how to stay focused when life feels chaotic, how to make difficult choices without second-guessing yourself, and how to bounce back from setbacks faster than before. Each chapter guides you through actionable steps you can use immediately. No confusing theories, no guesswork, just practical strategies that actually work. You'll learn how to protect your energy, reduce distractions, and make decisions that lead to real results. This audiobook doesn't just show you how to fix problems, it shows you how to train your mind to think clearly, act deliberately, and build habits that make life simpler and more manageable. You'll see how small daily practices can transform your ability to handle challenges, recover from mistakes, and even turn fear into motivation. By the end, you'll have a clear system for approaching problems, a routine for strengthening focus and discipline, and tools to share solutions that build trust and support. Each part is designed to leave you feeling capable, confident, and ready to take action. If you've ever felt stuck or uncertain about how to move forward, this audiobook will give you the guidance you need to face challenges head-on and solve problems effectively. Stay with this journey, because by the time you finish, you'll see that solving problems isn't about luck or talent. It's about having a steady, practical method and a peaceful mind that knows exactly what to do next. Chapter 1. Master calm focus to solve problems with steady steps. Calm focus is not something you are born with. It is something you build, one breath, one decision, and one moment at a time. It is the foundation of every solution you will ever create. The mind that panics, reacts, and rushes only multiplies confusion. But the mind that learns to slow down, observe, and respond with clarity gains the quiet strength to face anything. Every problem in life, no matter how complicated or painful, begins to shrink when the mind learns to stay calm and deliberate. There will always be moments that test your patience, unexpected bills, difficult people, broken plans, or painful losses. In those moments, most people do what feels natural. They react, they rush to fix, to argue, to complain, or to escape. And in that hurry, they make mistakes, overlook the real issue, or drain their energy before progress even begins. The person who solves problems wisely doesn't do that. They slow their breathing, bring their attention to what is real and immediate, and begin solving step by step. They know that calm is not weakness, it is power under control. When you face a problem, your first task is not to solve it. Your first task is to calm your mind. Without calm, your thoughts scatter like leaves in the wind. You can't think clearly, can't prioritize, and can't decide what matters. A calm mind doesn't mean you feel no stress. It means you create space between the problem and your reaction. You train yourself to pause before deciding, to breathe before speaking, to think before acting. That pause is not inaction. It is preparation. In that pause, the mind gathers itself. It moves from chaos to control, from fear to reason. Think of a time when you acted out of panic. Maybe you sent an angry message, made a rushed decision, or gave up too soon. Later, when your mind cooled, you saw the situation differently. You understood what could have been done better. That clarity didn't come from new information. It came from calm. Calm changes how you see the same problem. It removes the noise, and what's left is truth. When the mind is calm, solutions appear, not because the world changed, but because your perception became sharper. To master calm focus, you must first recognize how often your attention is stolen. Notifications, constant comparison, worry about the future, all of them weaken your ability to concentrate. The world rewards speed, not stillness. But true progress comes from focus. You can't think deeply about a problem when your mind is half on it and half somewhere else. Each time you try to multitask, your focus breaks into fragments. Solving problems requires deep attention, and deep attention requires stillness. Begin small. The next time you face a challenge, resist the urge to react instantly. Instead, sit down, breathe slowly through your nose. Count each inhale and exhale for a few rounds. Feel the tension in your body slowly ease. Then ask yourself one question. What exactly is happening right now? Not what you fear, not what might happen, but what is true in this moment. Most problems grow bigger in our minds than they are in reality. Calm focus brings things back to size. Once your mind is calm, begin to look at the problem as if you were an outsider observing someone else's situation. This helps you detach emotion from logic. Ask, what's within my control here? What's not? You can't control the weather, other people's attitudes, or the past. You can control your choices, your effort, and your attitude. When you direct your focus only to what's controllable, you save enormous energy. You stop wasting your strength on what you can't change and start using it on what you can. Steady steps mean exactly that. Steady, not dramatic. The person who solves problems doesn't jump from one idea to another. They take one small action, observe the result, then take another. This approach might look slow from the outside, but it's far more efficient. Every small step is a test. Every test gives feedback. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need the next right step. Over time, those small deliberate moves compound into progress that lasts. A peaceful mind is not a mind without challenge. It's a mind trained to remain centered through challenge. Life will never remove obstacles, but you can remove the chaos they cause inside you. When something happens, calm focus keeps you steady while others spiral. It allows you to think with reason when others are ruled by emotion. This is why some people appear lucky or naturally good at problem solving. It's not luck, it's control over their own reactions. They've practiced responding rather than reacting. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed peace doesn't come from a quiet life, but from a disciplined mind. You can't wait for the world to calm down before you find peace. You must bring peace into the world through your own composure. A storm outside cannot disturb the ocean floor. In the same way, outer chaos cannot shake an inner calm that has been trained. That training happens in daily moments. Traffic jams, misunderstandings, waiting in line. Each small irritation is a chance to practice patience, to test your focus, to build your calm muscle. A calm person is not easily manipulated. They are not rushed by pressure or distracted by noise. They decide based on principle, not impulse. This kind of strength is quiet but visible. People trust calm individuals because calmness signals control. It tells the world that you are not ruled by chaos, but by clarity. In problem solving, this trust matters. When others lose confidence, they look for someone grounded. If that person is you, your calm becomes contagious, and together you move from confusion to action. If you want to master calm focus, you must begin by observing your mind. Throughout the day, notice what triggers your stress. Notice how quickly your mind starts racing when things go wrong. Don't judge yourself, just observe. Awareness itself creates a small distance between you and the chaos. Over time, that distance widens and you gain more control. Instead of being swept away by emotion, you start watching it like a passing wave. This is how inner peace begins, through awareness, not escape. Every time you face a problem, imagine yourself as a craftsman working on a delicate piece. You wouldn't rush. You'd work with care, attention, and patience. Calm focus gives you the same craftsmanship in life. You start paying attention to details others miss. You begin to see connections that hurried minds overlook. You realize that every problem has layers, and the top layer is rarely the real one. By staying calm, you can dig deeper and solve the root, not just the surface. People often believe that to solve problems faster, they must think faster, move faster, decide faster, but speed without direction only deepens confusion. Calm focus is not about slowing life down. It's about aligning your actions with clarity. When the mind is calm, it can move quickly and accurately. When the mind is restless, it stumbles even on simple tasks. Efficiency is not born from speed. It is born from presence. To make calm focus practical, create daily habits that strengthen your attention. Start your mornings without rushing. Spend 5 minutes in silence, breathing deeply and bringing your mind into the present. Before checking your phone, ask yourself what truly matters today. Write down 1 or 2 priorities. When you do this, you anchor your mind before the day pulls you in every direction. During the day, whenever stress builds, pause and take one slow breath. These small resets prevent the mind from spiraling. At night, reflect briefly. Ask, how calm was I today? When did I lose focus? And why? This reflection is not for judgment, but for training. Each day gives you data about your mind. You begin to understand what triggers you, what distracts you, and what restores your peace. Over weeks and months, you'll see yourself change. You'll start solving problems with fewer mistakes and more confidence. Calm focus, practiced daily, becomes your default mode. Not because life is easy, but because you've learned how to handle it. Imagine standing in the middle of chaos, a job deadline, family conflict, financial pressure, and feeling a quiet strength within. That is the reward of calm focus. You stop feeling like life is attacking you and start realizing that you can handle whatever comes. Problems no longer shake your sense of peace because your peace no longer depends on external stability. This is what mastery feels like. Not perfection, but poise. To develop this mastery, learn to accept what happens without resistance. Acceptance does not mean you agree with everything. It means you stop wasting energy fighting reality. When something goes wrong, you acknowledge it fully. You face it as it is, not as you wish it to be. Then you ask, what can I do next? This simple mental shift removes frustration and brings direction. Acceptance turns chaos into clarity because it frees you from denial. When you accept and focus calmly, even big problems become manageable. Think of an overwhelming task. Maybe you need to pay off debt, rebuild health, or repair a relationship. At first, it seems too large, but when you break it into smaller parts and approach each part calmly, you gain momentum. You start with one phone call, one habit change, one honest conversation. Each small success builds confidence. Calm focus keeps you consistent because you're not wasting energy on panic or doubt. This approach works in every area of life. In work, calm focus helps you think strategically instead of emotionally. In relationships, it allows you to listen fully and respond wisely. In health, it helps you stay disciplined without extremes. Calmness doesn't remove emotion, it balances it. It lets emotion inform your choices without controlling them. When emotion becomes a guide instead of a master, You begin living with steadiness that few achieve. One truth becomes clear: you can't control every outcome, but you can control your inner state. That control changes how you perform, decide, and recover. When problems come, and they always will, you'll meet them with a steady rhythm. You'll plan carefully, act decisively, and adapt easily. Others will see calmness as confidence, but you'll know it's something deeper. Peace built from self-discipline. There will still be moments when fear, anger, or confusion rise. Calm focus is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to hold emotion without letting it take over. When fear comes, you let it pass through you like wind through an open window. You don't cling to it. You acknowledge it and move forward anyway. This is how strength feels in its most peaceful form. Every person you admire for their wisdom or success has practiced calm focus, even if they call it by another name. They learned not to rush, not to react, but to understand. They turned waiting into strategy and setbacks into lessons. They moved with quiet certainty while others panicked. The greatest advantage in life is not intelligence or luck, it's composure. If you want to build that same composure, begin now. Make calmness your first step before every decision. Make focus your standard for every action. Train your attention like a muscle. Use it fully on one thing at a time. Don't try to do everything in one day. Instead, do the right things with full presence. Over time, this simple discipline will make you unstoppable. Calm focus is not built in meditation rooms alone. It's built in the noise of life. Every conversation that tests your patience, every delay, every uncertainty is your training ground. You are teaching your mind to stay steady no matter what happens outside. When you can do that, no problem will ever overpower you. Problems lose their ability to frighten you when you realize your mind can remain peaceful through anything. The peaceful mind formula begins here with calm focus and steady steps. You don't rush, you don't force, you don't panic. You move through problems the way a river moves through rocks, smoothly, patiently, and with purpose. The rocks don't disappear, but the river always finds its way. That is the path of calm mastery. And as you live this way, day by day, you begin to realize that peace is not found at the end of solving problems, it is the way you solve them. Chapter 2. Build habits that make difficult choices clear and simple. Every difficult choice in life becomes harder when the mind is unclear and habits are inconsistent. When daily behavior is scattered, even simple decisions feel heavy. But when you live with structure, most choices make themselves. You don't wake up debating what to do. Your routine decides for you. The strongest people in the world don't rely on constant motivation or willpower. They rely on habits that support clear thinking. They understand that the moment to decide wisely is not when pressure hits, but long before, when habits are built. Habits create the invisible architecture of your life. They shape how you respond to stress, how you handle delay, and how you face temptation. Most people underestimate their power because habits feel ordinary. But the small things you do automatically each day become the foundation for how you think under pressure. When your habits are disorganized, your mind is too. And when your mind is scattered, even small problems feel like mountains. The goal is not perfection, but stability. You want to build systems that reduce friction and make good choices the easiest ones to make. Think about how many times a day you hesitate, question yourself, or waste time deciding what to do next. Should I go for a walk? Should I check my phone? Should I work or rest? Every tiny decision drains mental energy. Over time, this fatigue clouds judgment. That's why people often make poor choices, not because they don't know what's right, but because they're tired of choosing. The mind seeks shortcuts, and in exhaustion, it picks comfort over growth. Habits eliminate that exhaustion. When you decide once and turn it into a routine, you free your mind to focus on what truly matters. Imagine a person who begins every day the same way. They wake up, stretch, drink water, and review their priorities. There's no debate, no delay. The body and mind already know what to do. That stability creates a mental environment where clarity thrives. When difficult choices appear, a work issue, a relationship conflict, a sudden setback, they face them with calm reasoning instead of anxiety. Their habits have already trained their mind to handle complexity with order. This is how wise decision-making begins, not in moments of crisis, but in quiet, disciplined repetition. Building habits that make choices simple requires honesty. You must examine your routines and identify which ones create confusion. Do you stay up late scrolling through distractions, making your mornings chaotic? Do you avoid planning your day and then feel overwhelmed by what to do first? Clarity doesn't appear by accident, it's designed through structure. Start by listing a few key behaviors that, if done daily, would bring order to your life. Keep them simple, something you can do even on difficult days. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters without hesitation. The most effective habits are the ones that support decision clarity, planning, reflection, preparation, and consistency. When you plan your day the night before, you reduce uncertainty in the morning. When you reflect at night, you learn from mistakes instead of repeating them. When you prepare your environment, you remove distractions before they tempt you. And when you stay consistent, the mind begins to trust itself. Confidence is not born from success alone. It's born from reliability. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen the mental muscle that handles difficult choices. Many people wait for clarity before they act, but clarity often appears after action. Habits are the bridge between uncertainty and confidence. When you act on small disciplines every day, exercise, mindful breaks, focused work sessions, you build momentum. Momentum makes decisions easier because your mind is already in motion toward improvement. A person with steady habits doesn't need to ask themselves whether they should keep going. Their system carries them forward. Discipline is simply remembering what you decided to care about, and habits are how you live that decision without overthinking it. Simplicity is the natural outcome of well-designed habits. Life doesn't feel simple when every choice demands analysis. It feels simple when you already know your path. Think of a professional athlete. They don't decide daily whether to train. The training is part of their identity. Their habits align with their purpose, which means their choices are almost automatic. You can create that same alignment in your life by connecting habits to values. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to become? Then build habits that reflect that identity. When your behavior matches your values, difficult choices become clear because you already know what you stand for. This alignment protects you when emotions try to take control. When frustration, fear, or doubt appear, a person without strong habits reacts impulsively, but a person with structure knows where to turn. They might open their journal, go for a walk, or sit in silence to reset. These are not random actions. They are practiced responses that keep emotions from dictating decisions. Every small, consistent behavior becomes a stabilizing anchor in moments of stress. The mind trained by habit stays grounded when others lose their direction. Start small. Choose one area of your life that often feels confusing, perhaps managing time, health, or relationships. Then design one daily habit that simplifies it. If mornings feel chaotic, prepare clothes, meals, or your to-do list the night before. If decision fatigue hits during the day, schedule breaks where you can breathe and reset. The power of habit is cumulative. Each small improvement builds on the last. Over time, you realize you no longer need to push yourself to stay disciplined. Discipline has become natural. Clarity also comes from eliminating habits that cloud the mind. Constant checking of devices, impulsive reactions, or skipping rest all create noise. You can't expect to make good choices in a noisy mind. Remove the behaviors that scatter attention. Replace them with grounding routines. Quiet moments, planned reflection, consistent sleep. Every time you remove a source of confusion, you create space for wisdom. Habits are not just about adding good behaviors, they're about subtracting the ones that drain your focus. When your life is guided by strong habits, decision-making feels lighter. You no longer chase perfection because your system already accounts for progress. You don't fear mistakes because you've built routines for learning. You don't waste time on what doesn't matter because your habits remind you of what does. Each day begins and ends with order. You save emotional energy for the choices that truly require it. That balance between structure and freedom is where calm intelligence grows. Building these habits takes patience. The mind resists change at first. It prefers comfort, even if comfort keeps you stuck. The key is repetition without drama. You don't need to transform everything at once. Consistency beats intensity. Do the same small things daily, even when motivation fades. Over time, your brain rewires itself. What once required effort becomes automatic. That's when you realize that clarity is not a personality trait, it's a result of persistence. There's beauty in a well-organized life. It doesn't mean every moment is easy or predictable. It means you meet challenges with a prepared mind. When decisions appear, you evaluate them calmly because your habits have already filtered out distractions. You recognize patterns faster. You trust your judgment more. You stop fearing uncertainty because your system can handle it. Life feels lighter, not because it changed, but because you did. When habits support clarity, your inner dialogue becomes peaceful. You no longer argue with yourself about what to do next. You act in harmony with your principles. Every day has direction, and that direction builds quiet confidence. That confidence, in turn, makes difficult choices feel less like battles and more like steps forward. You are no longer guessing, you are living intentionally, and intention more than intelligence or opportunity is what leads to consistent success. Habits do not remove struggle, but they make struggle purposeful. They turn effort into progress instead of frustration. You stop wasting time on indecision because your systems carry you forward. The more you practice structure, the clearer your path becomes. Clarity is not found in endless thinking, it's found in disciplined doing. When you live by habits that simplify, you free yourself from confusion. Every difficult choice becomes a reflection of who you've trained yourself to be, and that is the truest form of peace. Chapter 3. Develop resilient thinking to bounce back from every setback. Resilient thinking is not about pretending everything is fine when life falls apart. It is about training your mind to remain functional, rational, and hopeful, even when the ground beneath you shifts. Every person experiences moments when things don't go as planned. The loss of a job, the end of a relationship, an unexpected health challenge, or a disappointment that cuts deep. What separates those who rise again from those who remain stuck is not luck or circumstance, it's the way they think when pain strikes. Resilient thinking turns setbacks into turning points instead of dead ends. When difficulty arrives, most minds instinctively resist. They ask, "Why is this happening to me?" That question leads nowhere. Resilient minds ask, "What can I learn from this?" Or "How can I adapt?" This subtle shift changes everything. It turns you from a victim of events into an active participant in your own recovery. The situation might not be your fault, but your response will always be your responsibility. Resilient thinking begins with this truth. Life doesn't always follow your plans, but you can always shape your reaction. To build resilience, you must understand that setbacks are not interruptions to the journey. They are part of it. No progress happens without friction. Every meaningful goal will test your patience, discipline, and faith. You grow not when everything goes right, but when things go wrong, and you keep going anyway. Each setback carries a lesson that strength alone cannot teach. Humility, patience, flexibility, or deeper understanding. If you avoid hardship, you avoid wisdom. The first step to resilient thinking is acceptance. You cannot fight what has already happened. Many people lose precious energy resisting reality, replaying the event, blaming others, or wishing it were different. Acceptance doesn't mean you approve of the outcome. It means you acknowledge the truth without denial. When you face the truth as it is, you stop wasting strength on what if, and start directing it toward what now. Resilience begins the moment you stop arguing with the past and start focusing on your next move. The second step is perspective. In the heat of disappointment, the mind tends to magnify pain. It convinces you that the situation will last forever or defines your worth by the failure. But the truth is, most setbacks are temporary if you treat them as feedback instead of identity. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? What can this teach me that success never could? These questions shrink problems to their real size and prevent you from being consumed by them. Resilient thinkers don't deny their emotions, they just refuse to let emotions control their logic. You build mental strength the same way you build muscle through resistance. Each time life pushes you, you have a choice to collapse or to grow stronger under pressure. Growth hurts, but so does stagnation. The difference is that one leads to wisdom and the other to regret. When you begin viewing challenges as training rather than punishment, every hardship becomes meaningful. You start recognizing that pain can refine you instead of define you. The more you practice this mindset, the faster you recover each time life tests you. A resilient thinker also knows how to manage inner dialogue. What you say to yourself during hard times shapes your recovery. If you tell yourself that you've failed, that you're unlucky, that you'll never get better, the mind starts believing it. Words form mental patterns, and patterns create identity. Replace self-pity with self-command. Say, I'm learning, I'm rebuilding, I'm adjusting. These are not empty affirmations, they are instructions to your brain about how to respond. Over time, this language rewires your thinking. You begin to meet setbacks with composure instead of collapse. You can strengthen this thinking further through reflection. After a setback, take time to analyze it calmly. What exactly went wrong? What warning signs did you miss? What could be improved next time? Avoid emotional storytelling. Stick to facts. Reflection transforms pain into education. It's how resilient people turn chaos into clarity. They don't rush to forget what happened. They study it until it loses its power to hurt them. That process may be uncomfortable, but it prevents the same mistake from repeating. Resilience also requires flexibility. The world changes faster than our expectations. Plans fail, markets shift, people disappoint, timing misaligns. If you're too attached to one version of success, you'll break when reality moves differently. Flexible thinkers adjust without losing direction. They pivot when necessary while keeping their long-term purpose intact. Instead of thinking, it didn't work, so I'm done, they think, this path didn't work, I'll try another. Adaptability is not weakness, it's intelligence in motion. In moments of difficulty, your mind looks for stability. That's why resilient people build grounding habits. Sleep, exercise, reading, prayer, or quiet reflection, these small anchors hold the mind steady when the storm hits. Without structure, chaos spreads easily. With structure, you create balance. These habits remind you that even when one part of life falls apart, other parts remain within your control. That sense of control is vital to recovery. It keeps your confidence alive. You can also build resilience through community. Strength doesn't always mean facing everything alone. Talking to someone who listens without judgment helps release tension. Other people's perspectives often reveal angles you missed. Seeking support doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. Everyone needs reminders that pain is temporary and that recovery is possible. When you share your experience, you often find that others have walked similar paths and found their way forward too. Connection renews courage. The most powerful part of resilient thinking is the ability to reframe. Reframing means looking at the same event from a new lens. Instead of saying, "I lost," you might say, "I learned." Instead of saying, "I failed," you might say, "I found what doesn't work." This mental flexibility turns obstacles into opportunities. It doesn't change the facts, but it changes your interpretation, and interpretation determines your emotions. With reframing, even hardship becomes a source of growth. When you practice resilient thinking long enough, you begin to notice a calm confidence during crises. You no longer panic at every problem. You trust your ability to recover. You stop fearing failure because you know you can rebuild. That inner assurance doesn't come from wishful thinking. It comes from surviving past difficulties and realizing you're still here. Each comeback strengthens the next one. The mind learns that falling is temporary and that standing up is always an option. The key is patience. Healing and progress rarely happen overnight. Resilient thinkers don't rush their recovery. They respect the process. They understand that time and effort work quietly in the background. The same discipline that helps you succeed in good times helps you rebuild in bad times. Each day you choose persistence over surrender. Your mind grows tougher. Eventually, resilience stops being a reaction. It becomes your nature. The beauty of resilient thinking is that it transforms your entire outlook on life. You stop expecting a perfect path and start preparing for an unpredictable one. You no longer see obstacles as unfair, but as part of the human experience. You understand that success and struggle are not opposites, they're partners in growth. When this mindset becomes part of you, nothing truly defeats you. You might fall, but you never stay down. You become adaptable, grounded, and forward-moving no matter what life throws your way. Resilient thinking is freedom. It frees you from the illusion that you need everything to go right to be okay. It reminds you that your strength lies not in circumstances, but in character. When you train your thoughts to respond with composure, when you learn from pain instead of hiding from it, you gain control over the only thing that truly matters, yourself. And once you master your response, no setback can ever take away your peace again. Chapter 4. Cultivate daily reflection to learn lessons from small failures. Reflection is one of the simplest yet most powerful habits you can ever develop. It doesn't require wealth, luck, or talent, just a few quiet moments of honest thought each day. The ability to pause and look back at what you did, how you reacted, and what you learned is what turns ordinary experiences into wisdom. Every mistake, every misunderstanding, and every missed opportunity can become a lesson if you take time to study it. Reflection gives meaning to your actions and helps you recognize patterns you would otherwise repeat unconsciously. Most people rush from one day to the next without ever asking themselves what worked and what didn't. But those who stop to think become the kind of people who grow steadily, even when life throws them curveballs. Daily reflection is not about dwelling on regrets. It's about observation without judgment. It's about asking yourself simple but powerful questions. What went well today? What didn't go as planned? What can I do differently tomorrow? When you do this consistently, your mind becomes sharper, calmer, and more aware. You start noticing small details that once slipped by. You begin to see how your emotions influence your decisions, how your energy levels affect your performance, and how your words shape your relationships. These small discoveries build clarity, and clarity is what prevents you from repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Most people believe wisdom comes with age, but that's only partly true. Wisdom comes with reflection. You can live 50 years without reflection and repeat the same year 50 times, or you can live one deeply conscious year of reflection and become wiser than most people ever do. Each evening, take just 10 minutes to think. Don't rush through your thoughts. Sit quietly, breathe deeply, and review your day like a teacher reviewing a student's work. Ask yourself, what did I learn today? And write down your answer. It doesn't have to be long. Even a sentence or two will do. Over time, those sentences become a personal record of growth, showing how far you've come and what you've overcome. Reflection teaches humility. It helps you admit where you went wrong without self-punishment. Instead of defending your mistakes, you learn from them. Instead of hiding your flaws, you examine them. That shift is powerful. It turns setbacks into stepping stones. You begin to appreciate failure as a natural part of progress. When you reflect regularly, you don't fear mistakes anymore because you know they won't go to waste. They will teach you, refine you, and guide you. Every day becomes an opportunity to evolve. Think about how athletes improve. They don't only train physically, they also review their performance. They watch recordings of their mistakes, not to feel bad, but to learn how to do better. Life works the same way. Reflection is the mental replay that helps you correct your form. Without it, you keep making the same errors. With it, every attempt becomes a step forward. When something doesn't go right, resist the urge to move on too quickly. Sit with it for a moment. Ask yourself what you could have done differently. That single habit will put you ahead of most people, because few have the courage to face themselves honestly. Daily reflection also strengthens emotional intelligence. It helps you notice patterns in your behavior. What triggers your frustration? What makes you lose focus? What drains your motivation? When you see those patterns, you can manage them instead of being controlled by them. For instance, you might realize that you react impatiently when you're tired, or that certain people always make you doubt yourself. Once you're aware of that, you can make adjustments, rest earlier, set boundaries, or prepare mentally before facing difficult situations. These small insights build emotional balance, which is essential for peace of mind. Another benefit of reflection is gratitude. When you look back at your day, you'll notice not only the challenges but also the blessings you might have missed in the rush. You'll remember a kind word someone said, a moment of laughter, or the simple comfort of having food and shelter. This awareness strengthens your appreciation for life. Gratitude and reflection go hand in hand. One deepens the other. Together they make you more grounded, more peaceful, and less reactive to life's ups and downs. The key is to make reflection a consistent part of your day. The same way you brush your teeth or prepare for bed, make it a natural ending to your routine. You don't need fancy tools, just a notebook or your own thoughts. The important part is honesty. Be sincere with yourself. Don't try to impress anyone or justify your choices. The goal is clarity, not perfection. Over time, this simple act of looking inward strengthens your self-awareness, and self-awareness is what helps you break free from habits that hold you back. When you cultivate daily reflection, your mistakes no longer define you. They refine you. You stop carrying guilt from past decisions because you've already learned from them. You become more patient with yourself and others. You respond with understanding instead of anger, and with curiosity instead of blame. You start seeing that life isn't happening against you, but for you, giving you constant feedback through every experience. Every failure becomes a message, every difficulty a lesson, every challenge a test of how well you've learned. Reflection also keeps your goals aligned with your values. Many people chase success without realizing they've drifted from what truly matters to them. But when you reflect daily, you stay connected to your purpose. You notice when your actions don't match your intentions, and you adjust early before small missteps become big regrets. It's like regularly cleaning your inner compass so it always points you in the right direction. That's how people live with integrity. Not by being perfect, but by staying aware. If you find reflection difficult at first, start small. You can do it while walking, sitting quietly, or before sleeping. Ask yourself one question: what did today teach me? Some days the lesson will be big, other days it'll be subtle, but every answer adds up to something meaningful. And with time, you'll notice that reflection doesn't just change how you see the past, it changes how you move through the present. You become more intentional with your words, more thoughtful in your reactions, and more mindful of your choices. A peaceful mind isn't born from avoiding mistakes, it's built through learning from them. Reflection gives you that peace. It helps you forgive yourself and keep improving. It turns confusion into understanding and disappointment into direction. Every great thinker, leader, and achiever has practiced reflection in some form. They didn't become wise by accident. They took the time to look back, learn, and move forward with greater clarity. You can do the same. At the end of each day, when the noise quiets and the distractions fade, give yourself a few minutes to meet your own mind. Listen to what it's trying to tell you. Notice where you struggled and where you grew. Then rest knowing that every mistake you face today is already shaping a wiser you tomorrow. Reflection is not about perfection, it's about progress. And when practiced daily, it becomes the silent force that keeps you learning, growing, and becoming the person you were always meant to be. Chapter 5. Learn to break big problems into concrete, manageable tasks. Big problems often look impossible because we see them as a mountain instead of a series of small steps. When you face something overwhelming, your mind naturally feels threatened. It starts to panic, and that panic paralyzes action. The secret is to shift your focus from the entire mountain to the next small stone you can move. Every big challenge, whether it's fixing your finances, improving your health, or rebuilding a relationship, is really a chain of smaller tasks waiting to be handled one by one. Once you start breaking things down, clarity replaces fear, and what seemed impossible becomes practical. People waste so much energy worrying about the size of the problem instead of directing that energy toward understanding it. The mind exaggerates what it can't define. That's why the first step is always to define the issue clearly. Instead of saying my life is a mess, identify what exactly feels messy. Is it your time management, your priorities, your commitments? Once you name the parts, you gain control over them. Clarity is the foundation of problem solving. Without it, even the simplest task can feel overwhelming. But once you know exactly what needs fixing, you stop fighting a shadow and start working with something real. The next step is to break the big problem into smaller, concrete actions. The reason most people give up is not that they're weak, but because they never break things down. When a task feels too large, motivation collapses, but if you reduce it to something manageable, your mind feels safe enough to begin. For example, if you need to write a book, don't think about 300 pages, just think about writing one paragraph today. If you want to start exercising, don't worry about losing weight, just commit to a 10-minute walk. The smaller you start, the faster you build momentum. And momentum is what transforms effort into progress. Each small action is like laying a brick. You don't build a house by focusing on the roof. You build it one brick at a time, carefully and steadily. The same logic applies to solving any problem. Every completed step builds confidence. Every small success tells your mind, I can handle this. Confidence grows through evidence, not imagination. So each time you check off a small task, you're proving to yourself that progress is possible. That proof becomes fuel for the next step, and soon the impossible starts to shrink before your eyes. When breaking big problems down, it helps to create structure. Write things out. Don't let them swirl around in your head, because the mind can make a small problem feel 10 times bigger when it's undefined. Take a piece of paper and list everything connected to the challenge, then group those items into categories. For instance, if your problem is financial, your list might include income, expenses, savings, and debt. Seeing it all laid out gives you perspective. Once you have categories, turn them into simple, actionable tasks. Instead of fix my finances, you now have review monthly expenses, cancel unused subscriptions, or set a savings goal. Each one is clear and measurable. You'll also need to set priorities. Not every task deserves your attention at once. Trying to do everything at the same time will only exhaust you. Ask yourself, which step will create the biggest impact right now? Start there. Focus on what moves the needle, not what feels urgent but unimportant. The discipline of choosing one thing at a time is what keeps your energy directed and effective. Remember, it's not the number of actions that matter, but their direction. Breaking problems into smaller parts doesn't mean lowering your standards. It means creating a path that your mind and body can realistically follow. Many people quit because they set goals that require superhuman effort every day. Real growth comes from steady, consistent work that builds on itself. If you dedicate even 15 focused minutes daily to a specific issue, you'll see change faster than someone who tries to do everything at once and burns out. Consistency beats intensity every time. You also need to track your progress. It's easy to forget how far you've come when you're still in the middle of the process. Keep a simple record, whether it's a journal, checklist, or calendar of what you've completed. Looking back at that record gives you strength during tough days. It reminds you that even slow progress is still progress. When you feel stuck, go back and review your small wins. They'll remind you that momentum is still on your side, even if you can't see the final result yet. Another important part of breaking problems down is accepting that you can't control everything at once. Focus on what you can influence today. Big issues often contain many elements that depend on timing, other people, or circumstances beyond your control. Don't waste energy on what's outside your reach. Concentrate on what's in front of you. Do the next right thing with full attention. That's how complex challenges gradually unfold in your favor, through calm, consistent effort directed at what's actually doable. As you practice this mindset, you'll notice something remarkable. The act of simplifying difficult problems also simplifies your thoughts. Your mind becomes clearer, less anxious, and more solution-oriented. You start viewing problems not as threats, but as puzzles to be solved. You begin to trust your ability to handle difficulties because you've trained yourself to work step by step instead of collapsing under pressure. Every solved problem strengthens your mental discipline, making the next one easier to face. Sometimes, breaking big problems into smaller ones requires creativity. You may not see the steps clearly at first, but reflection and experimentation reveal them. Ask questions like, what is one thing I could do today that would make this easier tomorrow? Or what part of this problem can I finish within the next hour? These questions force your brain to focus on action instead of anxiety. When you look for smaller pieces, you always find them, and as soon as you take that first small step, new ones appear naturally. Action creates clarity. Don't underestimate the power of small beginnings. Every major transformation, personal, professional, or emotional, starts with something modest. The person who starts with a single well-defined task often accomplishes more than the person waiting for perfect conditions. The path unfolds as you move. You don't need to see the entire staircase to take the first step. Each step taken with purpose brings you closer to the solution, even if the full picture isn't clear yet. When you break a large problem into manageable tasks, you also make failure less intimidating. If one small attempt doesn't work, it's just one experiment, not a catastrophe. You can learn, adjust, and try again without losing confidence. This flexibility keeps you moving. It builds resilience. Big failures only happen when people tie their entire hope to one giant effort. But when your process is divided into smaller experiments, there's no single point of collapse, only opportunities to learn and improve. With time, you'll notice that breaking down problems isn't just a tactic, it becomes a mindset. You begin to approach life with patience, structure, and calm precision. You stop feeling trapped by uncertainty because you've learned how to turn confusion into order. This way of thinking doesn't just solve problems, it reshapes how you see yourself. You start to believe that no situation is too big for you to handle, as long as you take it one clear step at a time. In the end, life itself is a collection of problems waiting to be solved and lessons waiting to be learned. The size of the problem doesn't determine your peace of mind, your approach does. Break it down, focus on what's next, and trust that small, consistent actions can overcome even the most overwhelming obstacles. Every great achievement was once a set of small, concrete tasks that someone refused to ignore, and you can do the same. When the problem feels too big, remember, you don't have to solve everything today. You just have to start somewhere and keep moving forward, one small manageable step at a time. Chapter 6. Practice clear communication to gain support and solve faster. Clarity in communication is one of the most powerful problem-solving tools a person can develop. Most problems persist not because solutions don't exist, but because misunderstandings stand in the way of progress. People talk past each other, assume too much, and fail to express what they truly mean. The result is confusion, frustration, and wasted energy. When you learn to communicate clearly, when your words are precise, calm, and purposeful, you not only solve problems faster, you also attract the right kind of support. Clear communication creates alignment, and alignment turns effort into results. Every meaningful connection, personal or professional, depends on understanding. Yet most people listen to reply rather than to understand. They rush to speak, defend, or correct before truly hearing what the other person is saying. To practice clear communication, you must begin with the discipline of deep listening. Listening is not about waiting for your turn to talk. It's about focusing your full attention on the message being expressed, both in words and in tone. When someone feels genuinely heard, their defenses drop and cooperation rises. This makes any conversation, even a difficult one, productive instead of combative. Listening also helps you gather essential information. You learn what people truly need, what worries them, and what motivates them. Without this understanding, your responses will always be incomplete. Think of it this way: you can't solve a problem you don't fully understand, and you can't understand it without listening. So, before offering solutions or opinions, slow down. Ask questions that invite clarity. Phrases like, "Can you explain that a bit more?" or "What do you need from me right now?" show genuine concern and open the door to collaboration. Clear communication also depends on simplicity. Complicated language, vague statements, or emotional overreactions cloud the message. If you want someone to understand you, speak with structure. Know the main point you want to make before you start speaking. Avoid rambling or overloading your message with unnecessary detail. The most effective communicators make their message simple, direct, and honest. Simplicity doesn't mean lack of depth, it means removing confusion. It allows others to grasp your meaning quickly and respond effectively. When expressing yourself, tone matters as much as words. The calmness of your voice communicates respect, stability, and self-control. When people sense aggression or defensiveness, they stop listening and start protecting themselves. But a calm tone invites openness. It signals that your intention is not to attack, but to solve. Clear communication is rooted in emotional control. You cannot communicate effectively when anger or pride drives your words. The more emotionally stable you are, the more persuasive and trustworthy your message becomes. Miscommunication often comes from assumptions. We assume others understand what we mean. We assume our point of view is obvious. We assume they see the situation the same way we do. These assumptions create invisible barriers. To communicate clearly, replace assumption with confirmation. Ask if your message makes sense. Summarize what you've understood from the other person and ask if it's accurate. This simple practice prevents countless mistakes and conflicts. It's better to confirm understanding now than to repair damage later. Support grows naturally when you communicate with honesty and respect. People trust those who express themselves clearly without manipulation or hidden motives. When your words align with your actions, others know where you stand. This transparency builds credibility, and credibility attracts cooperation. People want to help someone who is consistent, reliable, and clear in purpose. Every time you express yourself with integrity, you strengthen the invisible bridge of trust that makes teamwork and problem-solving possible. In group settings, clarity multiplies in impact. A team that communicates openly and precisely moves faster than one that hides behind confusion or ego. If you're leading a group or working with others, make sure everyone understands the goal, the process, and their individual responsibilities. Encourage questions. Eliminate ambiguity. Ambiguity is the enemy of progress. It leaves room for misinterpretation and blame. When everyone knows exactly what's expected, execution becomes smoother and mistakes decrease. Another key part of clear communication is timing. Sometimes the problem isn't what you say, but when you say it. Speaking too soon, when emotions are high, can worsen a situation. Waiting too long can allow resentment to grow. Good timing requires awareness. Pay attention to the emotional state of the people involved. Choose moments of calm to address important matters. In times of tension, focus on de-escalation before discussion. Patience gives your words more power and your message more reach. Clarity also means taking responsibility for your message. If your words are misunderstood, it's not enough to blame the listener. Ask yourself how you could express the idea more clearly. Adapt your communication style to your audience. Some people need details, others respond better to summaries. Some need reassurance before they can engage, others value directness. The goal is not just to speak, but to be understood. That requires empathy and flexibility. Written communication deserves the same discipline. Whether it's an email, a text, or a report, clarity determines how quickly things move forward. Before sending a message, read it from the recipient's point of view. Is your request specific? Does it include all the necessary information? Could any part be misunderstood? A few extra seconds of review can save hours of confusion later. In every form of communication, precision is respect. It saves others time, energy, and effort. When trying to solve problems, your ability to articulate what's wrong is half the battle. A vague complaint like, "This isn't working," helps no one. A clear statement such as, "The delay happens because we didn't confirm the timeline," points directly to a solution. Specific language invites specific actions. It also prevents unnecessary emotional tension because the conversation focuses on facts, not frustration. This is why clear communicators are often seen as calm leaders. They bring order to chaos through precise words. Support also depends on the way you make others feel during communication. People are more likely to help when they feel valued. Acknowledge contributions, express gratitude, and give credit openly. Kind words don't cost anything, but they create loyalty. When others see that you communicate not just to demand, but to appreciate, they respond with more effort and sincerity. Communication at its highest level is not only about transferring information, it's about strengthening connection. Clarity doesn't mean being emotionless or cold. You can express empathy, compassion, and care while remaining clear and steady. The key is balance. Emotion without clarity confuses, while clarity without emotion disconnects. When you combine both, your message reaches both the mind and the heart. People are inspired not only by what you say, but by how genuinely you say it. To improve your communication daily, make it a practice. At the end of each day, reflect on your interactions. Where did communication break down? What could you have said more clearly? Which moments felt effective? And why? This reflection helps you recognize patterns and refine your approach. Just as physical strength grows through repetition, communication skill grows through conscious practice. When you face a difficult conversation, prepare for it. Write down your main points. Think about possible reactions and how you'll handle them calmly. Decide on the outcome you want, not just emotionally, but practically. Preparation transforms anxiety into confidence. It gives your words structure and purpose, which others can sense immediately. Clarity begins before you speak. It starts with clear thinking. Over time, practicing clear communication reshapes your relationships and your reputation. People begin to see you as dependable, composed, and trustworthy. They come to you for advice, collaboration, and leadership because they know you express truth without confusion. This influence doesn't come from power, it comes from precision. The more clearly you communicate, the less energy you waste on misunderstandings, and the faster you move towards solutions. In the end, clear communication is not just about talking. It's about connecting with clarity of mind and honesty of purpose. It's about removing the fog between thought and understanding, between people and progress. When you speak to understand and to be understood, every problem becomes easier to solve because everyone involved sees the same picture. Clarity creates unity, unity builds momentum, and momentum delivers results. Mastering this skill not only helps you solve faster, it helps you live with more peace, confidence, and respect in every interaction. Chapter 7. Create routines that protect energy, focus, and recovery each day. Energy, focus, and recovery form the invisible foundation of a steady mind and an effective life. Without structure to protect these three pillars, Even the most talented or disciplined person eventually collapses under pressure. A good routine is not about control or rigidity, it's about preserving your strength for what truly matters. Each day brings endless decisions and distractions that drain the mind, but a thoughtful routine shields you from chaos and gives your energy direction. When your days are designed with intention, your mind stays calm, your focus remains sharp, and your body has the chance to recover before the next challenge begins. Every day begins before it actually starts. The way you end your evening shapes the quality of your next morning. Many people think productivity starts with what they do when they wake up, but true preparation begins with how they close their day. A calm evening routine signals to your body that it's time to recharge. Reducing stimulation before sleep, like screens, noise, or unnecessary mental activity, allows your nervous system to settle. When your sleep is restful, your next day begins with clarity instead of fatigue. This is how recovery becomes the first act of productivity, by restoring the mind that must lead tomorrow's actions. Once the morning arrives, your first hour determines the rhythm of your day. People often wake up and immediately hand over their attention to the outside world, checking messages, scrolling through updates, or reacting to problems. This floods the mind with noise before it's even stable. The result is scattered thinking and low emotional control. The better way is to begin in silence. Before allowing external input, center yourself, spend a few moments breathing deeply, stretching or reflecting on what needs to be done calmly. By creating a small ritual of quiet focus in the morning, you teach your mind to operate with clarity rather than chaos. Energy is a finite resource, and focus is how you spend it. Most people think they run out of time during the day, but what they truly run out of is energy. You can't make good decisions, stay patient, or think deeply when your energy is drained. That's why protecting your energy must become a daily discipline. It starts with knowing what drains you and what restores you. Not every task deserves your full attention. Not every conversation deserves your emotional investment. Be selective about where your mental and emotional energy goes. Say no to unnecessary commitments that pull you away from what truly matters. A powerful way to protect energy is to create predictable rhythms for recurring activities. Instead of deciding each day when to exercise, when to work, or when to rest, decide once and follow it. Routines eliminate small, repetitive decisions that exhaust your mind. Decision fatigue is real. It's the gradual decline in your ability to make quality choices after too many small decisions. When you automate simple parts of your life, you conserve energy for what's important, whether it's eating at regular times, working in focused blocks, or taking breaks consistently. Structure supports strength. Your focus is like a muscle. It grows stronger with consistent use and weakens with distraction. Protecting focus means managing your environment as much as your mindset. You cannot expect deep concentration in a space filled with interruptions. Keep your workspace clean, remove unnecessary noise, and minimize access to distractions. Train yourself to work in clearly defined sessions of concentration, followed by short breaks. During those sessions, avoid multitasking. Handle one task completely before starting another. The mind works best when it can give full attention to a single purpose. Another key element of protecting focus is learning to transition between activities consciously. Most people rush from one task to another without pause, carrying the residue of the previous activity into the next. This mental clutter reduces quality and increases stress. Before starting something new, take a brief moment to reset. Stand up, stretch, breathe, or look away from screens. That small pause acts as a mental separator, allowing your mind to release the past and enter the present task fully engaged. These tiny transitions build mental endurance over time. Recovery is often misunderstood as idleness, but it's an essential part of sustained performance. The mind and body are not machines. They need renewal to function at their best. Pushing without rest leads to diminishing returns. You end up working harder, but achieving less. True recovery isn't just about sleep, it's about balance throughout the day. Take time to detach from constant stimulation. Step outside for sunlight, breathe fresh air, or enjoy silence without doing anything. These small acts calm the nervous system, restore attention, and reduce emotional tension. Nutrition and hydration also play silent but vital roles in maintaining daily energy and focus. Many people underestimate how much their physical state affects their mental performance. A poor diet leads to sluggish thinking, irritability, and lack of motivation. Simple habits like eating real, balanced meals, drinking enough water, and limiting excessive caffeine can make a profound difference. Taking care of your body is not vanity, it's the foundation of mental clarity. Creating routines that support energy and recovery also means respecting your natural rhythm. Not everyone performs best at the same time of day. Some people have peak focus in the early morning, others in the evening. Pay attention to your energy patterns and structure, demanding work around your high energy periods. Schedule lighter, more mechanical tasks when your focus dips. This alignment prevents frustration and helps you achieve more with less strain. It's also important to recognize that protecting energy is not just about physical activity, but also emotional hygiene. The people and environments you interact with shape your inner state. Negative or draining company can quietly erode your motivation. Surround yourself with individuals who bring calm, encouragement, and purpose to your day. Set boundaries with those who constantly pull you into unnecessary drama or complaints. Your peace is worth protecting because it sustains your ability to contribute meaningfully. Routines should not become rigid cages. They are meant to support you, not confine you. Flexibility allows you to adapt when life shifts unexpectedly. The point of structure is to reduce chaos, not eliminate spontaneity. If a routine feels restrictive, adjust it so it serves your goals rather than dominating them. The best routines evolve with you. They grow stronger as your needs and priorities change. Protecting your energy also requires self-awareness. Notice when you start to feel drained, unfocused, or irritable. Those signals mean it's time to pause, recharge, or change pace. Ignoring them leads to burnout. Respecting them keeps you sustainable. Self-discipline doesn't mean pushing through exhaustion. It means managing your resources wisely so you can stay consistent for the long term. End each day intentionally. Review what went well, what challenged you, and how your energy flowed. Did you overextend yourself? Did you take enough breaks? Reflection transforms ordinary routines into intelligent systems of growth. When you know where your energy goes, you can redirect it with purpose. This awareness creates balance, the state in which you can work hard without falling apart. In the bigger picture, routines that protect energy, focus, and recovery are a form of self-respect. They tell your mind and body that your well-being is a priority, not an afterthought. When your daily rhythm honors rest as much as effort, you stop living in constant reaction. You begin to operate from calm control instead of chaos. Your days gain structure, your work gains depth, and your mind gains peace. A strong routine doesn't make life dull, it makes life manageable. It gives you the strength to meet each day with clarity and purpose. Energy fuels focus, focus drives progress, and recovery sustains it all. When you design your days with these principles in mind, you no longer drift through life hoping to stay afloat. You move through it with direction, strength, and calm certainty that every action counts. Over time, this balance becomes your natural state, and from that state, peace and progress flow together effortlessly. Chapter 8. Strengthen decision skills by testing small choices every morning. Decision-making is one of the most powerful abilities a human being possesses, yet most people underestimate how much their daily peace and progress depend on it. Every moment is shaped by choices: what to focus on, what to ignore, what to say, what to hold back, what to begin, and what to end. The quality of your life is ultimately determined by the quality of these decisions. But strong decision-making doesn't come from waiting for big choices to appear. It develops through small, consistent practice. Each morning offers a quiet opportunity to sharpen that skill. By testing and refining your decision process through minor choices, you train your mind to think clearly when larger decisions arrive. When you wake up, your brain is fresh, unburdened by the noise of the day. This is the perfect time to start training your decision muscles. Begin with small, intentional choices: what to wear, what to eat, how to start your first hour. The goal is not to make perfect decisions, but to make conscious ones. Every time you pause and think before acting, you teach your mind to slow down, evaluate and choose instead of reacting automatically. Over time, this builds inner discipline, the quiet confidence that you can rely on your own judgment instead of being pulled by impulse or emotion. The mistake many people make is believing that good decision-making is purely logical. In truth, it's a balanced dance between reason and intuition. The best decisions are those where the mind and the gut work together. Practicing small choices each morning helps you develop this internal communication. When you notice how your body feels after one choice versus another, you begin to trust your instincts. The more often you make deliberate decisions, the more you refine your sense of direction. You start noticing patterns: what gives you energy, what drains you, what aligns with your goals, what leads to regret. These insights accumulate, guiding you toward wiser, more natural decision-making. The morning routine is not just a list of actions, it's a training ground for mental clarity. Every small choice you make early in the day sets the tone for the decisions that follow. If you choose to make your bed, drink water, move your body, or start with reflection, you strengthen the habit of order. Small acts of self-control create a psychological foundation of discipline that carries into larger areas of your life. The mind learns through repetition. When you start your day with intentional choices, you set your brain's operating mode to direct, not drift. Decision strength also depends on your ability to separate urgency from importance. Every morning, the world will try to pull your attention toward things that demand immediate response: messages, news, or notifications. But these are rarely the things that build your future. The ability to pause and ask, what truly matters right now, is a decision in itself. Practicing that question each morning trains you to act from purpose rather than pressure. The more you exercise that muscle, the less reactive you become, and the more your decisions begin to align with your deeper values. Confidence in decision-making doesn't come from always being right. It comes from knowing how to handle being wrong. Every small decision in the morning gives you a low-risk chance to test, fail, and learn. If you choose a certain breakfast that leaves you feeling sluggish, you learn what not to repeat. If you decide to spend your first hour on social media and feel drained afterward, you experience the cost of distraction. The point is not perfection, but feedback. The more you pay attention to the results of your choices, the more accurate your future decisions become. This daily testing builds something even more valuable than confidence: adaptability. Life rarely unfolds exactly as planned, and those who thrive are the ones who can adjust quickly. When you test small decisions every morning, you strengthen your flexibility. You stop fearing uncertainty because you've trained yourself to experiment, evaluate, and adapt. You begin to view each decision not as a permanent commitment, but as a chance to learn. That mindset transforms pressure into curiosity, and that curiosity keeps you calm in moments when others panic. Strengthening decision skills also means learning how to reduce mental noise. Many people struggle not because they lack intelligence, but because they drown in overthinking. Practicing small, quick decisions each morning helps you escape that trap. When you decide something and act immediately, without endless analysis, you break the habit of hesitation. The act of choosing becomes easier, lighter, and more natural. Each successful decision, no matter how small, teaches your brain that you can trust yourself. Self-trust is the quiet strength behind decisive people. One helpful way to practice this is to give yourself micro-challenges in the morning. Decide the order of your tasks and stick with it. Choose what to prioritize without second-guessing. Commit to one path for your first few hours and observe how it unfolds. By doing so, you remove the mental clutter that comes from constant reconsideration. This trains your brain to operate with certainty, which saves enormous amounts of energy throughout the day. Unmade decisions consume mental space, while completed ones free it. Decision fatigue is real. It's the gradual decline in decision quality as your day progresses. That's why the morning is the ideal time to test and strengthen your skills. When your mind is fresh, it can process information with clarity and patience. As the day goes on, the weight of accumulated choices weakens that clarity. By practicing deliberate decisions early, you reinforce the part of your brain responsible for executive control. You create a mental rhythm of action, reflection, and adjustment that lasts long after the morning ends. Emotions also play a major role in decision-making. When you practice small choices in the morning, you gain insight into how feelings influence your thinking. Notice how you decide when you're calm versus when you're hurried. Observe how mood changes affect your confidence in choosing. This awareness helps you separate emotion from logic when larger decisions arise later. The better you understand your internal state, the less likely you are to make choices based on fleeting feelings. Emotional awareness turns decision-making from guesswork into mastery. Strengthening decision skills isn't about becoming rigid or controlling. It's about cultivating mental agility. When you practice daily, you start noticing that your mind becomes faster at identifying priorities, clearer in judging consequences, and calmer under uncertainty. The act of choosing becomes less stressful and more intuitive. You no longer fear making mistakes because you trust your ability to learn from them. That's when real confidence takes root. Not from always being right, but from always being ready to adapt. The power of small morning decisions extends beyond personal growth. It influences how you handle people and opportunities. When your decision-making is steady, others sense reliability in you. You become someone whose judgment can be trusted, whose choices are measured, and whose actions are consistent. This quiet dependability attracts respect and opportunity naturally. The world tends to open its doors to those who know what they want and act on it with clarity. Over time, your morning practice creates a compounding effect. Each conscious decision adds to your sense of inner stability. You start to carry that stability into your relationships, your work, and your habits. You begin to approach challenges not with fear, but with curiosity. Decision-making becomes less about choosing perfectly and more about moving forward intelligently. That shift transforms your entire mindset, from doubt to direction, from hesitation to action, from passivity to purpose. By testing small choices every morning, you teach yourself the most powerful truth. Decisions shape everything. The direction of your life is not determined by luck or circumstance, but by the hundreds of tiny choices you make each day. Each morning is an invitation to strengthen that power, to think clearly, act deliberately, and learn continually. As your decision-making sharpens, your days become more intentional, your energy more focused, and your mind more peaceful. And in that quiet strength, you realize that mastery of life is simply the mastery of choice, one conscious morning at a time. Chapter 9. Transform fear into fuel. By facing one small risk. Fear is one of the most powerful forces in the human experience. It can hold a person hostage, freezing them in hesitation, or it can become the spark that ignites extraordinary growth. The difference lies in how one approaches it. Fear is not a signal to stop. It is a signal to pay attention. It points toward the edges of comfort, the places where growth begins. To transform fear into fuel, one must stop treating it as an enemy and start using it as a guide. The key is to face one small risk each day, something that feels uncomfortable but not impossible. In doing so, you teach your mind that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the calm decision to move through it one steady step at a time. Every person carries fears: fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of uncertainty. These emotions often hide beneath rational explanations, making them harder to confront. You might avoid speaking up in a meeting because you don't want to cause trouble, or delay starting a project because the timing isn't right. But beneath those excuses is usually fear, the quiet voice that says, "What if I'm not enough?" or "What if I fail?" When you recognize this, you gain your first tool: awareness. Once fear is named, it loses some of its control. What keeps people trapped is not fear itself, but their attempt to avoid it. Avoidance gives fear power. Action takes it away. Facing one small risk daily is how you train yourself to act, despite discomfort. The risk doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be initiating a difficult conversation, sharing an idea, applying for something uncertain, or standing up for what you believe. What matters is that it stretches your comfort zone. Growth happens in small increments. Each act of courage rewires your brain, teaching it that fear does not equal danger. With every small victory, the mind learns that risk is survivable, that discomfort passes, and that confidence grows only through motion. The mind thrives on patterns, and fear often becomes one of them. When you repeatedly back away from challenges, your brain learns that retreat equals safety. Over time, this habit weakens your inner strength. The only way to break that pattern is to replace it with a new one. Approach rather than avoid. Each morning, ask yourself, what's one small risk I can take today? It could be sending that message you've been postponing, volunteering for a task that scares you, or expressing your opinion when it feels easier to stay silent. These small moments accumulate, creating a deep internal shift. You start to trust your ability to act, not your fear's warnings. The transformation begins when you realize that fear and excitement are often the same energy. Physiologically, they feel similar: the racing heart, the heightened focus, the surge of adrenaline. The difference is interpretation. Fear says something bad might happen. Excitement says something meaningful might happen. When you face small risks regularly, your brain starts to associate that physical rush with possibility instead of threat. You begin to crave challenge, not shrink from it. This mental reprogramming turns fear into momentum. Taking small risks also builds emotional resilience. Each time you act in the face of fear, you develop tolerance for uncertainty. You learn to handle discomfort without running from it. This is vital because every major decision in life involves uncertainty: relationships, career moves, personal goals. You cannot eliminate fear from these choices, but you can strengthen your ability to move forward anyway. Resilience is not built through comfort. It's built through deliberate exposure to manageable pressure. Every small risk you face is a form of emotional training, a way of telling yourself, I can handle this. When you avoid fear, it grows larger in your imagination. When you face it, it often dissolves faster than you expect. The mind tends to exaggerate danger when it stays untested. The moment you take action, reality replaces speculation. For example, speaking in front of others may feel terrifying until you do it once. Afterward, you realize the world didn't collapse, and your confidence expands. This experience becomes proof, evidence that fear's voice is often inaccurate. The more evidence you gather, the quieter that voice becomes. Eventually, it stops ruling your choices. To use fear as fuel, you must also learn to pause and listen to what it's trying to teach. Fear often reveals what matters most to you. You feel fear around the things you deeply value, your dreams, your identity, your sense of belonging. Instead of pushing fear away, ask it questions. What am I protecting? What am I avoiding? What does this fear reveal about what I care about? These reflections turn fear into insight. You begin to see it not as an obstacle, but as a compass pointing toward the next area of growth. Small risks also help dissolve perfectionism, one of fear's closest allies. Many people wait until they feel completely ready before acting, believing that preparation will eliminate fear. But readiness never fully arrives. Waiting only strengthens hesitation. The way to build readiness is through doing. When you take one small risk, even imperfectly, you gain experience. That experience builds confidence, which then creates genuine readiness. Progress, not perfection, is the antidote to fear. It's also important to remember that courage does not erase vulnerability. In fact, true courage embraces it. When you take risks, you expose yourself to uncertainty, judgment, and possible failure. But in doing so, you also open yourself to discovery, connection, and progress. People who live fully are not those who never fear. They are those who refuse to let fear make their decisions. Facing small risks daily keeps you connected to this truth. It reminds you that discomfort is a sign of being alive and growing. The practice of transforming fear into fuel also reshapes your relationship with failure. Instead of viewing mistakes as proof of inadequacy, you begin to see them as part of the learning process. Each time you take a risk and fall short, you gain information that refines your next move. Failure becomes feedback, not finality. Over time, this perspective dissolves the fear of failing altogether. When failure loses its power to shame or paralyze you, fear has nothing left to hold on to. Taking one small risk daily builds momentum that spills into every area of life. It boosts confidence, sharpens awareness, and strengthens character. You begin to notice that the things that once seemed intimidating now feel manageable. Tasks you once avoided become opportunities for growth. This quiet evolution doesn't happen overnight, but it compounds over time. Each act of courage feeds the next, until bravery becomes your natural state. Fear's purpose was never to destroy you. It was to awaken you. It's a signal from within, reminding you that something meaningful is at stake. When you stop running from it and start listening, fear becomes your ally. It keeps you alert, present, and aware of life's depth. By facing one small risk each day, you build an unshakable foundation of courage, one decision at a time, and as that foundation strengthens, you no longer wait for confidence before acting. You act, and confidence follows. The person who learns to use fear as fuel stops being controlled by it. They become calm in uncertainty, brave in difficulty, and alive in possibility. That transformation is not the result of one grand act of courage, but of thousands of small, deliberate steps toward fear, each one proving that within you lies far more strength than fear ever imagined. Chapter 10. Eliminate distractions that steal time, focus, and mental clarity. Distraction is the quiet thief that steals more from life than failure ever could. It takes minutes, fragments them into seconds, and scatters them until nothing meaningful remains. In a world filled with constant noise, maintaining clarity has become a rare strength. Most people lose more time to distraction than to fatigue or lack of opportunity. The ability to focus deeply, to think without interruption, and to sustain mental stillness has become one of the greatest advantages a person can develop. Eliminating distractions is not about living rigidly. It is about creating a clear mental space where your thoughts, goals, and emotions can align without interference. Every distraction comes disguised as something harmless. A quick check of your phone, a glance at messages, a scroll through updates. These seem small, yet they drain attention in invisible ways. Each time your focus is broken, your mind must spend energy regaining its place. Studies show that it can take minutes to fully return to a task after an interruption. Those small breaks of concentration repeated throughout the day quietly destroy productivity and inner calm. The first step toward reclaiming clarity is awareness. You must see distraction for what it is, a force that feeds on attention. Without your attention, it has no power. Mental clutter is not only created by external noise, but also by internal noise, the endless chatter of thoughts that serve no purpose. Worry, comparison, and regret are mental distractions that consume energy without direction. To eliminate them, you must learn to notice when your thoughts wander and gently guide them back to what matters. This practice is not about perfection, but about presence. Each time you catch your mind drifting and return it to focus, you strengthen control over your attention. With time, this awareness becomes a habit, and your inner environment grows quieter, sharper, and more deliberate. A simple but powerful way to regain control of your focus is to define what deserves it. Most people never decide consciously what matters most in their day, which allows everything else to demand attention. Before you start your work or daily activities, identify the one or two things that truly move your life forward. These are your priorities. When you know what they are, distractions lose their grip. They no longer appear as opportunities, but as obstacles. Clarity of purpose acts like armor against temptation. It reminds you why certain things are worth saying no to. Physical surroundings play a major role in mental focus. A cluttered space often mirrors a cluttered mind. Organizing your environment is not merely an aesthetic act. It's a way of signaling to your brain that order exists. When everything has a place, the mind feels anchored. Begin by removing what you don't need from the areas where you spend the most time. Keep only the essentials that support your focus and peace. This simple discipline of order strengthens mental discipline. The fewer distractions your eyes meet, the fewer interruptions your thoughts face. Digital distractions are among the most deceptive. They offer stimulation that feels productive, but rarely leads to real progress. The constant pull of notifications trains your brain to seek novelty instead of depth. To reverse this, create boundaries around technology. Designate specific times for checking messages or social media. Keep your phone out of reach during deep work sessions. Use your devices with intention, not habit. Each time you choose to delay a notification or silence a device, you reclaim control of your attention. Those small acts of discipline add up to hours of regained mental freedom. Another layer of distraction comes from the consumption of unnecessary information. The mind was not designed to process endless streams of opinions, updates, and entertainment. Overconsumption dulls clarity, making it harder to think originally or act decisively. You must become selective about what you allow into your mental space. Ask yourself before consuming, does this inform me, inspire me, or improve me? If not, it's likely noise. Protecting your mind from information overload is as vital as protecting your body from junk food. What you feed your mind determines the quality of your thoughts, and your thoughts determine the direction of your life. Focus is not about doing more, it's about doing less, but with full presence. When you eliminate distractions, you rediscover the depth of concentration. You begin to experience what it feels like to be fully absorbed in one activity, unbroken by interruption. In those moments, time stretches, creativity flows, and effort feels effortless. The satisfaction that comes from deep focus cannot be replaced by the shallow pleasure of quick stimulation. Clarity brings peace, and peace brings power. The person who can give their undivided attention to one task at a time accomplishes more with less strain. To maintain mental clarity, it's also essential to manage your energy wisely. Distractions often multiply when you are tired or emotionally drained. Fatigue lowers discipline, making it harder to resist impulses. Protecting your sleep, taking regular breaks, and maintaining physical movement throughout the day strengthen your mental resilience. A rested mind is naturally less reactive. When you feel grounded, distractions lose their ability to lure you. You respond to life from intention rather than reaction, which is the foundation of self-mastery. Emotional distractions are another form of noise. Unresolved conflicts, hidden worries, or suppressed frustration cloud focus just as much as digital interruptions. Reflection helps here. At the end of each day, take a few moments to review your emotions. Write them down if needed. This simple act releases mental tension and clears the mind for the next day. Emotional clarity and mental clarity are deeply connected. When your emotions are processed rather than ignored, your attention becomes free to focus on the present moment. The habit of mindfulness is one of the strongest defenses against distraction. When you train your awareness to stay rooted in the now, distractions lose their pull. Mindfulness is not about forcing silence in the mind. It is about observing thoughts and sensations without being carried away by them. Practicing it even for a few minutes each day strengthens the part of your brain responsible for focus and impulse control. With time, this awareness extends into your daily life. You begin to notice distractions as they arise, giving you the power to choose whether to engage or release them. Eliminating distractions also requires honesty. You must be willing to confront the fact that many distractions are self-created. Sometimes we seek them unconsciously to avoid discomfort, the discomfort of effort, of stillness, or of facing uncertainty. When you recognize that your distractions are often a form of escape, you can begin to address their root cause. Ask yourself what you are avoiding when you turn to them. Facing that truth brings growth. You replace avoidance with awareness, and awareness leads to deliberate action. As you refine your focus, you'll notice that clarity brings a quiet strength. The mind becomes less reactive, your time expands, and your actions gain precision. You no longer feel rushed by endless demands because you know what deserves attention. The noise of the world fades into the background, while your inner direction becomes sharper. You stop chasing everything and start building something. This transformation doesn't happen in a single day. It's the product of consistent practice, choosing silence over noise, purpose over impulse, depth over distraction. Each small moment of regained focus compounds into a life of presence and productivity. You begin to live intentionally, not reactively. The true reward of eliminating distractions is not merely increased efficiency, but the return of peace. A clear mind can see possibilities that a scattered one cannot. With clarity comes better judgment, creativity, and balance. You begin to feel that your time belongs to you again, that your attention serves your growth instead of feeding chaos. The ability to maintain focus in a distracted world is not just a skill, it's a form of freedom. And when you live with that freedom, every thought, every task, and every decision becomes an act of conscious creation, shaped not by noise, but by purpose. Chapter 11. Simplify options to reduce overwhelm and speed up action. Life becomes far less complicated when you stop giving every option the same weight. Every day you are surrounded by choices. What to eat, what to focus on, which message to answer first, how to spend the next hour. Without structure, this endless stream of decisions quietly drains your mental strength. You end up tired, not because you worked too hard, but because you had to think too much about things that didn't matter. Simplifying options isn't about limiting your freedom, it's about freeing your attention from noise, so you can focus on what moves your life forward. Clarity doesn't come from more information, it comes from fewer, better choices. When you wake up in the morning and already know what matters most, you move with purpose. The day feels lighter because you've already decided what deserves your focus. You waste less time comparing, doubting, or hesitating. This is what simplicity gives you, the ability to act quickly, calmly, and consistently. You no longer need to analyze every path, you trust yourself to walk the right one. Reducing the number of decisions you face each day is a quiet act of power. It tells your mind, I am in control of my focus, not my impulses or distractions. The first step to simplify your options is to set clear priorities. You can't simplify what you haven't defined. Ask yourself, what truly matters to you right now? Not what mattered 5 years ago, not what other people expect, but what actually improves your peace, health, and growth today. Once you identify these few key values, use them as filters. If a choice doesn't support them, it doesn't deserve your time. You can't move fast if you're carrying everything. Let your priorities cut through the noise for you. Simplicity also requires trust. Trust in your ability to decide and move on. Overthinking often comes from fear of making mistakes. You want to analyze every angle before acting, believing that more thinking means better outcomes. But in truth, overthinking only keeps you still. Every decision carries some uncertainty. The best way to reduce that fear is to make small choices quickly and observe the results. This builds confidence. It shows you that even if something doesn't work, you can adjust. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be decisive. Start by looking at areas of your life where you feel most mentally crowded. Maybe your workspace is cluttered, your phone is full of unused apps, or your daily schedule leaves no breathing room. Simplifying begins with subtraction. Remove one unnecessary thing at a time. When you open your phone, delete one app that doesn't serve a purpose. When you look at your desk, clear away one pile of papers. When you look at your calendar, cancel one task that doesn't align with your goals. This is not about doing less, it's about making space for what truly counts. Your brain loves patterns. If you decide once, you save energy every time after that. Create default decisions for daily routines so you don't waste energy on minor choices. Eat a similar healthy breakfast, wear a set style of clothing, or schedule fixed times for focused work. These small systems protect your mental clarity. Every moment you don't spend deciding on trivial things, you save for meaningful action. Great thinkers, athletes, and leaders do this not because they dislike variety, but because they respect their attention. They know it's a limited resource. Simplicity also strengthens focus because it trains you to see through distractions. When you strip away unnecessary options, you start noticing what truly helps you progress. You begin saying no more easily. You stop explaining your choices to everyone. The more you simplify, the stronger your boundaries become. It's not selfish, it's strategic. You can't contribute your best when your energy is scattered across too many directions. By choosing less, you gain more depth in everything you do. Another way to simplify your choices is to group similar tasks together. Instead of switching between unrelated activities all day, focus on one category at a time. For example, handle all your communication in a single block, then move on to creative work or physical tasks. Each switch between types of work costs attention. By batching tasks, you protect your momentum. When you reduce context switching, your mind stays calmer and performs better. You get more done not by rushing, but by staying in flow longer. You can also apply simplicity to your relationships. Not every invitation deserves a yes. Not every opinion needs a response. Choose people who support your peace and growth, not those who drain your energy. Surrounding yourself with clarity helps you stay aligned with your purpose. You don't owe everyone your time. Say yes to fewer things, and you'll have the strength to give your full self to what matters most. Even your goals should be simplified. Many people set too many ambitions at once, then feel frustrated when progress is slow. Instead, focus deeply on one major goal at a time. When you give something your full attention, results come faster. Once that goal is stable, move to the next. Progress is not about juggling, it's about completion. Every finished goal adds confidence and frees you from mental clutter. Simplicity is not a one-time event, it's a lifestyle. It requires regular reflection. Ask yourself often, is this still helping me? Is this still necessary? If not, let it go. What once served you may now slow you down. Growth means refining your focus again and again. When you live with fewer unnecessary choices, you create mental quiet. That quiet is where creativity, intuition, and clear thinking live. Each time you reduce something unnecessary, a decision, a commitment, a distraction, you reclaim a piece of your attention, and attention is your most valuable asset. It determines how well you think, how deeply you connect, and how far you progress. Simplifying your options gives you back that control. You no longer chase every possibility. You choose what matters, act on it quickly, and move forward with calm certainty. There's power in simplicity because it removes friction. You stop wasting hours in indecision. You stop second-guessing yourself. You trust your instincts and reserve your energy for action. This creates momentum, the quiet kind that builds confidence each day. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, you'll look around and realize your life feels lighter, your mind clearer, and your choices effortless. Simplicity doesn't mean you stop dreaming big. It means you stop drowning in small things. You design your environment to support clarity. You protect your time as if it were gold. You give your attention only to what builds your future. That's how you reduce overwhelm and move faster. Not by doing everything, but by doing the right things with full focus. The moment you stop chasing every option, you begin creating real progress. You'll notice your peace grows with every decision simplified. You'll no longer feel pulled in 10 directions. You'll have the space to think, the strength to act, and the calm to handle whatever comes next. That is the reward of simplifying options. A clear mind that moves with quiet power, a heart that feels light, and a life that flows forward without noise or confusion. Chapter 12. Map root causes to solve problems at their source. Most people spend their lives fixing the surface of their problems. They patch what's visible, but never explore what caused it in the first place. That's why the same struggles keep reappearing, only in slightly different forms. A peaceful mind and a steady life are built on the habit of tracing issues back to their roots. It's not always easy or comfortable to look deeper, but it's the only way to make change last. When you understand the real cause of a problem, you can solve it once instead of managing it forever. Every problem has layers. The top layer is what you see and feel right away. The missed deadline, the argument, the fatigue, the worry. But underneath that is the true source. The pattern, belief, or system that quietly fuels those visible issues. Mapping root causes is about digging through those layers with patience and honesty. It means asking why repeatedly until you reach something that doesn't depend on another reason. It's the moment when you realize the problem wasn't what you thought it was. It was what you avoided looking at. For example, imagine you keep running late for important things. You might first blame traffic, poor time management, or your alarm clock. But if you keep asking why, you might uncover deeper patterns. Perhaps you overcommit because you fear disappointing people, or you delay leaving because you dread the day ahead. Once you see that root, you can address it directly. You don't just fix the symptom, you remove the source. Every meaningful solution starts with truth, not convenience. To map a problem effectively, you must step out of the emotional fog it creates. When frustration or fear is high, your mind tries to escape the discomfort instead of understanding it. Calm reflection is essential. When you feel overwhelmed by a problem, don't rush to act. First, slow down and observe. Write down exactly what's happening, how often it occurs, and how it affects you. Seeing it clearly on paper creates distance. It helps you look at the problem instead of from inside it. That distance allows insight to appear. Once you can look at the problem calmly, begin asking the simplest and most powerful question, why? Each time you answer, ask why again. Do this 5 times or as many as needed until you reach a level of cause that you can directly influence. This method may seem simple, but it forces depth. It stops you from accepting easy explanations. The deeper you go, the smaller the real cause becomes, and small causes are easier to fix than big assumptions. Root cause analysis isn't only for logic, it requires emotional awareness too. Many recurring problems are not technical, they are emotional patterns we repeat without noticing. You may find that your challenges come from old fears, unresolved guilt, or hidden pressure to prove something. These emotional roots shape your reactions before you even think. To solve a problem at its source, you must be willing to face those emotions without judgment. The moment you accept them, their power weakens. You stop reacting automatically and start responding consciously. Another key to understanding root causes is observation over time. One moment of analysis might not reveal the whole picture. Track when the problem happens, who's involved, and what triggers it. Patterns appear only when you watch consistently. For example, if you often feel drained at the end of the day, note what you did, who you interacted with, and how you felt. Over time, you might discover that the exhaustion isn't from the workload itself, but from certain tasks or people that constantly take more energy than they give. That discovery allows you to make targeted changes instead of random ones. When you identify a root cause, it's important to confirm it through action. Don't stop at awareness, test your insight. Make one small change that directly addresses the source and observe the results. If the problem begins to ease, you've likely found the root. If it doesn't, keep exploring. Problem solving is a skill developed through repetition. Each time you trace an issue accurately, your mind becomes sharper and calmer. You build confidence in your ability to understand life, not just endure it. Mapping causes also helps prevent emotional blame. When you focus only on symptoms, it's easy to direct frustration toward people or circumstances. But when you look deeper, you see the system behind behavior, how communication gaps, unclear expectations, or old habits create friction. That shift from blame to understanding transforms relationships. It turns conflict into cooperation. When everyone views the real issue, teamwork replaces tension. Clarity creates unity. Sometimes the root cause lies in outdated routines. You might continue doing something a certain way simply because it's familiar, not because it works. But familiarity can quietly become a trap. Regular reflection helps you identify when a system that once helped you is now slowing you down. Solving problems at their source often means upgrading old habits. It's not about starting over, it's about aligning your methods with your current reality. You'll also find that many problems are connected. A lack of sleep might make you impatient. Impatience might lead to arguments. Those arguments create stress, and that stress makes sleep harder. The cycle continues until you identify the first link, the true starting point. When you fix that one thing, the rest improves naturally. That's the power of addressing roots instead of branches. Every small correction at the source prevents larger struggles later. Clarity grows stronger when you turn reflection into a routine. At the end of each week, take time to review what didn't go smoothly. Ask what part of it was within your control, what you could do differently, and what emotion or belief drove your choices. Over time, this habit of self-inquiry becomes second nature. You begin spotting causes before problems even form. You stop reacting and start anticipating. This is how a peaceful mind stays grounded in wisdom instead of chaos. The courage to face root causes also builds emotional maturity. It teaches you to look inward before blaming outward. It shifts your mindset from, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What inside me allows this to happen repeatedly?" That perspective gives you power. You realize you're not a victim of circumstances, you're the designer of your responses. Every insight becomes a tool you can use again in the future. When you begin to see how all problems trace back to a small handful of habits or beliefs, life simplifies. Instead of fighting endless fires, you strengthen the foundation. Your decisions become clearer, your reactions calmer, and your actions more precise. You move from firefighting to foresight. That shift changes everything, from how you work to how you love to how you rest. Solving at the source doesn't mean you'll never face new challenges. It means when you do, you'll meet them with depth instead of panic. You'll know how to slow down, analyze, and find the real starting point. You'll waste less energy fixing the wrong thing. You'll trust your ability to find truth instead of chasing noise. Every time you trace a problem back to its root, you strengthen your peace. Ultimately, mapping root causes is a practice of awareness. It trains you to look beneath appearances, both in your environment and within yourself. It builds a life where solutions last and peace grows. The surface may still shift, but you'll stand steady because you understand what lies beneath. When you live from that depth, no problem stays unsolved for long, because you no longer guess. You see, understand and act from the root. Chapter 13. Prioritize tasks that offer progress, growth, and meaningful results. Life gives everyone the same 24 hours each day, yet the outcomes of those hours differ completely from one person to another. Some move forward steadily, building meaningful results step by step, while others stay trapped in constant busyness without direction. The difference lies not in effort, but in clarity. True progress doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing what matters most. To live a peaceful, productive life, you must learn to prioritize tasks that create genuine growth instead of noise that only looks like movement. Every day presents countless choices that compete for attention. Some tasks demand urgency, but offer little reward. Others may seem quiet or simple, yet hold the power to move your life forward. When you fill your schedule with what's loud instead of what's meaningful, you end up exhausted, but unfulfilled. That's why prioritization is not about scheduling. It's about alignment. It's the art of choosing what deserves your energy, based on long-term purpose, not momentary pressure. To begin prioritizing effectively, you need a clear sense of what progress means to you. Progress is not measured by how much you complete, but by how much closer your actions bring you to the life you want to live. This requires defining your direction. If you don't know what matters most, every distraction will look like an opportunity. Spend time clarifying what progress looks like in your health, work, relationships, and personal growth. Once that vision is clear, the noise around you starts to fade. Decisions become easier because they have a reference point. A useful practice is to begin each morning by identifying the single task that, if completed, would make the day meaningful. This isn't about volume, but impact. One well-chosen task done with focus often produces more growth than 10 scattered efforts. Ask yourself which task moves you closer to mastery, stability, or peace. Do that first. By finishing one meaningful thing early, you gain momentum and confidence that carry through the rest of the day. It's also essential to distinguish between motion and progress. Motion feels productive. It involves planning, preparing, organizing, but it doesn't always move you forward. Progress means results. Before spending hours on any activity, ask whether it truly changes your situation for the better. If it doesn't, it's motion without direction. The most successful people spend less time reacting and more time acting with intention. They understand that the value of time depends on the depth of purpose behind each minute. To prioritize effectively, simplify your commitments. When your schedule is overflowing, even important tasks lose focus. Many people struggle because they try to hold on to everything, fearing missed opportunities. But every yes to something meaningless is a no to something essential. Learn to say no with calm confidence. Protecting your focus is an act of self-respect. The more you simplify your commitments, the more energy you can dedicate to work that matters. Another way to strengthen prioritization is through categorization. Not all tasks are equal. Some build foundations, some maintain stability, and some only consume time. Separate your to-do list into 3 groups: essential, useful, and optional. Essential tasks align with long-term goals and must be completed even if they're uncomfortable. Useful tasks support your system but aren't critical daily. Optional tasks may add value occasionally but shouldn't interfere with essentials. Review this list each week to ensure your time reflects your priorities, not your impulses. Many people confuse urgency with importance. Urgent tasks shout, important ones whisper. The world often rewards reaction, responding instantly to messages, deadlines, and requests, but true growth rewards patience. Before rushing into a task, pause and ask, will this still matter a month from now? If the answer is no, it's urgency without importance. Reserve your deepest attention for the tasks that compound value over time. The work that matters most rarely feels urgent, but it shapes everything else. To stay focused on meaningful results, you must manage energy as carefully as time. The brain makes better decisions when it's rested and clear. Schedule demanding tasks for your peak hours and reserve lighter tasks for lower energy periods. This rhythm protects your productivity and keeps your mind steady. Trying to do everything at once drains clarity. Focus on one important thing at a time. Finish it fully and then move on. Completion brings peace. Fragmentation breeds stress. Another element of prioritization is reflection. Each week, review what you accomplished and ask whether your actions produced real progress or only kept you busy. Track which tasks gave you a sense of satisfaction and which left you empty. Over time, patterns emerge. You'll see which efforts truly move you forward and which ones simply repeat cycles. Reflection prevents drift. It ensures that your energy continues to serve your highest goals instead of shallow routines. Prioritizing tasks also involves emotional discipline. The mind often resists what's meaningful because meaningful work is demanding. It requires patience, discomfort, and long-term thinking. Easy tasks provide quick satisfaction, but little change. Hard tasks, the ones that stretch your skill and patience, are usually the most valuable. When you feel resistance, it's often a sign you're facing something important. Push through gently but firmly. Growth always asks for effort, but the peace that follows is worth it. To stay aligned with meaningful results, reduce decision fatigue. Too many daily choices drain mental clarity. Create routines that handle predictable parts of your day automatically: when you wake up, what you eat, when you work, when you rest. When small decisions become habitual, your mind stays free for the ones that matter most. Simplicity is strength. It keeps your focus sharp and your direction steady. Another way to strengthen prioritization is to use time blocks. Allocate specific periods for deep, uninterrupted work on your most valuable tasks. During those hours, silence notifications, close unnecessary tabs, and guard that time as if it were a meeting with your future self. Each block of focused effort builds a habit of consistency. Over weeks and months, those small windows of deep work create visible progress that scattered effort never could. When prioritizing, remember that not all progress is external. Tasks that support mental clarity, emotional balance, and learning are just as vital as those that produce visible results. Meditation, exercise, journaling, or quiet reading may seem unproductive to an impatient mind, but they sustain the quality of every other task. Growth isn't just about achievement, it's about building the stability to keep growing. It's also crucial to avoid comparing your priorities with others. Every life has a unique rhythm and direction. What's meaningful for someone else may not serve you at all. Comparison clouds clarity. When you base your priorities on external approval, you lose authenticity and direction. Anchor your priorities in your values, not trends or opinions. Only then will your progress feel peaceful and real. A powerful exercise is to identify 3 questions that define your priorities. What gives me energy? What brings me closer to my purpose? What benefits others as well as myself? If a task meets all 3, it belongs at the top of your list. If it meets none, release it without guilt. Your peace depends on how wisely you choose where to invest your attention. Over time, prioritization becomes less about managing tasks and more about managing identity. You begin to see that every action expresses what you believe is important. When your daily choices match your deeper values, life feels lighter. You no longer chase endless activity, you act with quiet strength. Productivity stops being a burden and becomes a form of peace. In the end, prioritizing tasks that lead to growth and meaningful results is about awareness. It's about realizing that time is not the real limit. Attention is. You have enough hours to build a fulfilling life, but only if those hours are directed toward what truly matters. When your actions reflect your values, your days gain structure, your mind gains calm, and your life gains depth. You stop counting tasks and start creating impact. Progress, then, is no longer a race. It becomes a steady, peaceful journey toward mastery and purpose. Chapter 14. Commit to consistent practice that builds mastery over time. Mastery is not a gift handed down. It is earned through steady, consistent practice. Talent can provide a head start, but skill and excellence are the results of persistent, deliberate effort over time. Every person who achieves true competence in any area has done so by committing to daily disciplined practice. It is not the occasional burst of energy, the sudden inspiration, or the fleeting motivation that creates mastery. It is the quiet, repetitive action that compounds invisibly until it produces extraordinary results. Consistency builds trust with yourself. When you follow through on small actions day after day, your mind learns that effort leads to results. This trust reduces hesitation and doubt, making it easier to face challenges. A single act of practice might feel inconsequential, but each repetition strengthens neural pathways, refines skill, and deepens understanding. Over months and years, these small investments accumulate into a level of competence that seems effortless to outsiders, though it is grounded in relentless dedication. The first step toward mastery is setting a clear focus. Without a target, consistent effort becomes scattered and energy dissipates. Identify the skill or area you wish to develop, then break it down into specific actionable steps. Each day, commit to completing these steps, even if the progress feels minimal. Mastery is not about perfection or speed. It is about showing up consistently, building habits that sustain growth, and moving steadily forward. Time alone does not guarantee mastery. Practice must be deliberate and intentional. This means concentrating fully on the task at hand, identifying weaknesses, and making adjustments as you go. Mindless repetition does not create skill. Deliberate repetition does. Challenge yourself within each practice session. Push slightly beyond your comfort zone. Notice where mistakes occur and correct them immediately. This form of focused repetition transforms effort into skill over time. Patience is essential in the pursuit of mastery. Results do not appear overnight. It is common to feel frustrated when progress seems slow or invisible. Those who persist understand that growth often happens beneath the surface. Each practice session is like adding bricks to a foundation you cannot yet see. With steady effort, the foundation strengthens, and eventually the structure of mastery rises. Frustration is a sign that growth is occurring. It is the mind and body adjusting to new challenges. Consistency requires structure. Create a routine that integrates practice into your daily life. The most skilled individuals often follow strict schedules, not because they enjoy rigidity, but because structure ensures continuity. Decide on a time and environment for practice that minimizes distraction. Treat each session as non-negotiable. The act of showing up repeatedly at a set time reinforces discipline, which is as critical to mastery as skill itself. Accountability strengthens commitment. Share your goals with someone who supports your growth, or track your progress in a journal. When you can measure advancement, even in small increments, it fuels motivation and reinforces consistency. Seeing your own development, however gradual, validates the effort and encourages you to continue. Mastery is a marathon of countless small victories, each one reinforcing the next. Resilience is another key factor in developing mastery. Mistakes, setbacks, and plateaus are inevitable. Those who succeed embrace them as part of the process. Failure is not a sign of inability, it is feedback. Analyze errors objectively, extract lessons, and apply them in subsequent practice. Each correction brings clarity and refinement. The mind of someone committed to mastery treats obstacles as opportunities, not as reasons to quit. Consistency also requires prioritization. You cannot focus on everything at once. To grow meaningfully, you must concentrate on a few critical elements of your skill, rather than spreading yourself too thin. This allows each practice session to produce more depth than breadth. Gradual accumulation of refined ability in essential areas leads to more significant overall competence than superficial effort in many areas. Depth comes before breadth, and sustained focus creates the foundation for exceptional results. Motivation is unreliable, discipline is dependable. Relying on bursts of enthusiasm leads to irregular effort and slow progress. Consistent practice is built on discipline, the ability to act regardless of mood, energy, or external circumstances. Cultivating discipline requires starting small, commit to shorter, manageable sessions if necessary, then expand them over time. Regular, structured effort is far more powerful than sporadic bursts of inspiration. Reflection strengthens the impact of consistent practice. After each session, review what worked, what didn't, and what could be improved next time. Writing these observations down reinforces learning and accelerates growth. Reflection ensures that effort does not remain mechanical but becomes intelligent, directed, and increasingly effective. Mastery grows not just from repetition, but from understanding what each repetition teaches. The compounding effect of consistent practice cannot be overstated. Each day adds a fraction of improvement, which multiplies over weeks, months, and years. Skill develops quietly, and mastery often appears suddenly to those who have been watching, though the practitioner knows it was the result of relentless persistence. Small, consistent actions are the true source of extraordinary ability. Focus on the process rather than the outcome. When attention shifts to results, practice can become stressful or demotivating. Mastery is about showing up, applying effort, observing, adjusting, and repeating. Success emerges naturally from the accumulation of disciplined effort. The more your focus centers on doing the work correctly and consistently, the more automatic progress becomes. Environment influences consistency. Surround yourself with conditions that support practice. Limit distractions, seek resources that accelerate learning, and spend time with individuals who encourage growth. Your surroundings either reinforce or undermine your efforts. By designing an environment conducive to repeated effort, you make it easier to sustain consistency over time. Small wins matter. Every completed practice session, every improvement, every correction reinforces your commitment. Celebrate these wins, not as endpoints but as markers of progress. They remind you that mastery is a journey, not a destination. Each victory strengthens confidence and provides momentum for the next session. Long-term commitment transforms identity. When practice becomes habitual, your identity shifts from someone who wants mastery to someone who is mastering. Actions align with self-perception. This alignment increases resilience, focus, and motivation. The act of consistent practice is itself transformative, shaping not only skill but character, patience, and discipline. Mastery requires continuous attention. There is no point at which practice becomes unnecessary. Even the most skilled individuals continue refining, learning, and adjusting. The pursuit of excellence is lifelong. Committing to regular, deliberate effort ensures that growth never stagnates. You become not only proficient but adaptable, capable of handling new challenges with skill and composure. Ultimately, mastery is a product of time, consistency, and deliberate effort. It is built quietly, one step at a time, through structured practice, reflection, and resilience. The person who commits to daily improvement, regardless of immediate reward, gradually transforms into someone capable of extraordinary skill and depth. Excellence is never sudden. It is earned through the steady, patient repetition of intentional action. Consistency, above all, is the key that unlocks the door to mastery. Chapter 15. Reframe setbacks as data to adjust your next moves. Setbacks are inevitable. Every meaningful endeavor carries the possibility of failure, and every effort to grow or improve comes with moments of difficulty. Yet, the way you interpret these moments determines whether they become stumbling blocks or stepping stones. The most effective approach is to treat setbacks not as final judgments, but as data, information that informs your next move. This perspective transforms challenges into a tool for improvement rather than a source of frustration. When a plan fails or a result falls short, it's easy to react emotionally: frustration, anger, disappointment. These responses are natural, but if allowed to dominate, they cloud judgment and slow progress. Reframing setbacks as data requires shifting from an emotional reaction to an analytical approach. Instead of asking "why me?" or "what went wrong?" in a self-critical way, ask "what information does this provide?" Each setback contains insight into strategy, preparation, timing, or execution. Treating it as data makes it useful. The first step in reframing is observing clearly. Avoid the temptation to rewrite events in your mind, to make them seem worse or better than they were. Document what actually happened. Include actions taken, choices made, timing, and context. Objectivity is essential. The clearer the record, the more useful the information becomes. Seeing facts without judgment allows you to identify patterns and uncover hidden causes. Next, analyze the data. Identify which elements were within your control and which were not. Some setbacks are caused by external factors, market conditions, timing, or unforeseen events. Others result from decisions, habits, or execution. Distinguishing between controllable and uncontrollable factors empowers you to take meaningful action. You cannot change what you cannot influence, but you can adjust what is under your control. Treat each piece of feedback from a setback as a guide, not a verdict. When something fails, it highlights a weakness or a gap that needs attention. This is the essence of learning. For instance, if a project misses its target, the data might reveal flaws in planning, insufficient research, or misaligned priorities. Each insight points toward a specific adjustment. The value of setbacks lies in the clarity they provide when approached methodically. Reframing also requires emotional regulation. When disappointment or fear arises, acknowledge it without letting it dominate your thinking. These emotions are signals, not dictators. Accepting the discomfort allows you to process the information rationally. When the mind is calm, patterns become visible and adjustments are easier to plan. Without emotional clarity, data from setbacks is ignored or misinterpreted, and lessons remain hidden. Break down each setback into actionable components. Ask questions like, what decision led to this result? Which actions had the greatest impact? Where could I have intervened earlier? What assumptions were inaccurate? This systematic approach converts abstract failure into concrete learning. Each answer becomes a stepping stone for improvement. Over time, this habit builds a resilient mindset that sees every obstacle as a source of insight. Consistency is key. The process of reframing setbacks as data is not a one-time event. After every challenge, take the time to analyze, extract lessons, and integrate them into future plans. This continuous feedback loop strengthens judgment and decision-making. The more you practice, the quicker you identify patterns and make adjustments before small errors become larger problems. One powerful technique is to create a setback log. Record each obstacle, the data you gathered from it, and the adjustments you plan to make. Review this log periodically. Over time, it becomes a personalized guide, showing which strategies work, which habits need reinforcement, and which approaches consistently lead to better outcomes. This record transforms setbacks into an organized source of growth. Reframing also shifts your mindset from reactive to proactive. When setbacks are seen as data, the focus moves from what went wrong to what to do next. Energy is redirected from frustration to action. You no longer linger in the past. You use the insight to shape future decisions. This approach creates momentum. Setbacks cease to be endpoints and instead become catalysts for refinement. It's important to understand that not every setback will contain immediately obvious data. Some lessons reveal themselves only after reflection or repeated experience. Patience and persistence are necessary. Treat each experience as a hypothesis that requires testing. Adjust, observe, and refine. Mastery over setbacks is built through repeated application of this cycle. Each iteration sharpens judgment and builds resilience. When reframed, setbacks also reduce fear. Many people avoid risk because they associate mistakes with failure. Viewing obstacles as information neutralizes fear. Each misstep becomes a calculated experiment, providing insight rather than proof of inadequacy. This mindset encourages experimentation and growth, allowing more confident and decisive action in the future. Collaboration amplifies learning from setbacks. Seek feedback from others who can provide perspective you may not see. Their observations serve as additional data points, often revealing blind spots. Combining personal reflection with external insight accelerates understanding. This approach builds both skill and humility, reinforcing the habit of learning from every challenge. A crucial aspect of using setbacks as data is prioritizing the adjustments that produce the most meaningful impact. Not every insight needs immediate action. Evaluate which changes will lead to the largest improvement and address those first. This strategic approach ensures energy is focused on moves that maximize growth, not scattered on minor or inconsequential corrections. Reframing setbacks strengthens long-term resilience. As setbacks become routine learning tools rather than catastrophic failures, confidence grows. You no longer fear mistakes. You anticipate insight. This mental shift reduces stress, enhances decision-making, and fosters persistence. Life becomes less about avoiding failure and more about continuous improvement. In practice, every setback informs the next move. A missed opportunity teaches timing. A disagreement highlights communication gaps. A failed project uncovers planning flaws. Each provides actionable information that, when applied, enhances effectiveness. Over time, this process develops a mindset capable of navigating complex challenges with clarity and poise. Ultimately, reframing setbacks as data transforms how you engage with life. Challenges are no longer threats, but guides. You become methodical in your analysis, deliberate in your adjustments, and resilient in your execution. Progress accelerates because lessons are extracted quickly and applied intelligently. A setback is no longer a stop sign, but a directional signal pointing toward better choices, improved strategies, and a stronger, wiser self. The habit of turning obstacles into actionable insight is a defining characteristic of those who achieve lasting growth. Each challenge becomes part of a feedback system, sharpening skill, judgment, and perspective. When setbacks are understood as data, every difficulty carries value, and every challenge becomes an opportunity to refine your path. Consistent application of this approach ensures that life's hurdles serve progress rather than impede it, creating a foundation for steady, meaningful advancement. Chapter 16. Seek feedback early, often, and use it to improve. Seeking feedback is one of the most powerful tools for growth, yet it is often overlooked or delayed. Many people wait until they think they are ready or have completed a task before asking for input. but waiting limits learning and slows progress. Feedback is most valuable when sought early and frequently because it guides improvement, prevents repeated mistakes, and strengthens skill at every stage. The habit of actively seeking insight from others builds clarity, competence, and confidence. Feedback is a mirror. It reflects aspects of your actions, decisions, or thinking that you might not notice on your own. When you rely solely on your perception, blind spots remain and errors go uncorrected. By engaging others, you gain a broader perspective, often revealing patterns or mistakes that would otherwise continue unnoticed. The earlier this insight comes, the sooner adjustments can be made, minimizing wasted effort and accelerating growth. The process begins with openness. Seeking feedback requires humility and a willingness to hear things that might be uncomfortable. It demands setting aside pride and the need to appear perfect. Without openness, feedback becomes limited or defensive, and the opportunity for growth is lost. Approaching feedback as a tool rather than a judgment transforms the experience from criticism into guidance. Timing matters. The earlier feedback is received, the more impact it can have. Waiting until the end of a project or task often means adjustments are too late or more difficult to implement. Early feedback allows small corrections before minor issues escalate into larger problems. It reduces the risk of wasted time, strengthens outcomes, and reinforces learning while the experience is fresh. Frequency is equally important. Regular feedback creates a rhythm of reflection and adaptation. It keeps learning active rather than episodic. By making feedback a consistent habit, you cultivate a mindset that anticipates improvement rather than fearing judgment. Frequent input also helps normalize the experience, reducing emotional resistance and making the process smoother over time. Effective feedback requires specificity. General statements like, "Good job" or "This needs work" have little practical value. Ask for observations about concrete actions, processes, or decisions. Specific feedback provides clear guidance on what to maintain, adjust, or enhance. For example, rather than asking if your report is okay, inquire whether the structure, clarity, and evidence effectively support your argument. This level of detail turns insight into actionable steps. When feedback is given, listen actively. Avoid interrupting, defending, or rationalizing. Focus on understanding the perspective being offered. Take notes if necessary, and clarify points to ensure you fully grasp the guidance. Active listening maximizes the value of feedback and demonstrates respect to the person providing it, encouraging even more useful input in the future. Feedback is only valuable if it is applied. The act of seeking guidance is the first step, but meaningful growth comes from action. Review the input, identify patterns, and implement adjustments immediately. Testing these changes provides further insight and strengthens skill. The iterative cycle of feedback, application, and reflection is what transforms potential into tangible improvement. Not all feedback is equally useful. Discernment is crucial. Evaluate the source and relevance of each suggestion. Some perspectives may be biased or uninformed, while others offer precise, experience-based guidance. Learning to filter feedback effectively prevents confusion and ensures that effort is directed toward high-value adjustments. Feedback also accelerates problem-solving. When facing challenges, input from others can uncover solutions that may not have been evident alone. Diverse perspectives provide alternative approaches, helping to identify options more efficiently. By integrating insight from multiple sources, decisions become more informed and outcomes more reliable. Cultivating a culture of feedback strengthens relationships and collaboration. People respond positively when they see that input is valued and implemented. This encourages open communication, mutual respect, and shared growth. By actively engaging others, you build a network of support that enhances both individual and collective progress. Embracing feedback requires emotional resilience. Not every insight will be positive, and some will challenge your assumptions or expose weaknesses. Developing the ability to receive such input without defensiveness is essential. Resilience allows you to view feedback objectively, extract the value, and move forward without discouragement. Feedback enhances self-awareness. It illuminates patterns in behavior, thought, and performance that you may overlook. With repeated input, you gain a clearer picture of strengths and weaknesses, enabling targeted development. Self-awareness strengthens decision-making, confidence, and adaptability, creating a foundation for long-term improvement. Seeking feedback frequently also prevents stagnation. Without input, habits solidify, mistakes repeat, and progress slows. Regular guidance disrupts complacency and challenges assumptions, keeping skills sharp and strategies effective. The combination of consistency, reflection, and application ensures continuous development. It is beneficial to ask questions that promote actionable insight. Examples include, "What would you do differently in my position?" or "Which part of this process could be improved?" Framing feedback requests in this way encourages constructive, practical responses rather than vague commentary. This approach turns observation into a roadmap for growth. Feedback and reflection go hand in hand. After receiving input, take time to process, internalize, and evaluate its implications. Consider how suggested changes align with your goals and values. Then integrate them thoughtfully. Reflection transforms information into applied wisdom, making each cycle of feedback progressively more impactful. The habit of seeking feedback early and often also cultivates humility. It reinforces the understanding that no one has all the answers and that learning is a lifelong process. Humility opens the mind to new ideas, increases adaptability, and strengthens resilience. When you recognize that improvement is continuous, feedback becomes an ally rather than a threat. Feedback accelerates mastery. Small adjustments informed by frequent insight compound over time, leading to significant growth. Each session of guidance, reflection, and application incrementally improves performance, refines skill, and enhances effectiveness. Progress is not random. It is the direct result of deliberate iteration informed by consistent input. Ultimately, the ability to seek feedback early, listen actively, and apply it consistently separates those who stagnate from those who advance. Feedback becomes a guiding system, revealing blind spots, refining strategies, and shaping more capable, resilient, and effective action. By integrating this habit into daily practice, growth becomes intentional, learning becomes constant, and each step forward is more precise and impactful than the last. The process transforms setbacks into insight, challenges into lessons, and effort into mastery. Feedback, when approached with openness, discernment, and action, becomes a catalyst for continuous improvement. Those who embrace this approach learn faster, adapt more effectively, and reach higher levels of competence than those who rely solely on intuition or isolated effort. Consistent engagement with feedback creates a life where progress is deliberate, growth is sustainable, and every action moves toward meaningful results. Chapter 17. Train focus with short, deep work sessions every day. Focus is a skill that deteriorates when neglected and strengthens when trained deliberately. In a world filled with constant interruptions, information overload, and the lure of immediate gratification, the ability to concentrate deeply is rare and immensely valuable. Developing focus requires more than willpower. It requires structured practice. Short, intense sessions of deep work each day create the foundation for sustained attention, clarity, and productivity. These sessions train the mind to resist distraction, process information effectively, and produce meaningful results. Deep work is the act of engaging in cognitively demanding tasks without interruption, fully dedicating mental resources to the work at hand. Unlike shallow work, which involves routine or low-value activities, deep work stretches the mind, encourages creativity, and produces output that matters. The challenge is not merely doing tasks, but doing them with complete immersion. The mind is like a muscle. It grows stronger the more it is exercised with focus and intensity. The first step is to identify high-value tasks that require undivided attention. Not every task benefits from deep focus, so choosing the right work is essential. These are tasks that advance goals, solve complex problems, or develop skills. Once these tasks are defined, allocate specific blocks of time to address them without interruption. Even short sessions, when consistently applied, yield powerful results because they condition the brain to sustain attention over time. Consistency is critical. Deep work is not a one-time effort, but a habit that develops gradually. Begin with small intervals, perhaps 20 to 40 minutes of uninterrupted focus. During this time, eliminate all potential distractions. Silence notifications, close unrelated applications, and inform others of your unavailability. Protecting this time teaches the brain that there are periods where nothing else takes priority, reinforcing the capacity for concentration. The environment plays a crucial role in training focus. Design a workspace that minimizes external disturbances. Clutter, noise, and interruptions all fragment attention and reduce effectiveness. By creating a dedicated space for deep work, the mind associates that environment with concentration, making it easier to enter a state of sustained focus. Repetition strengthens this mental association, turning deep work into a natural habit rather than a forced effort. Attention is finite. Attempting long sessions without preparation often leads to diminishing returns. That's why short daily sessions are more effective than occasional, extended marathons. The goal is to train the brain to maintain intensity in small bursts, building endurance gradually. Over weeks, these short sessions accumulate into long-term ability, allowing for prolonged focus without burnout. Preparation before each session enhances performance. Clarify the objective, outline the steps needed, and set a tangible goal for completion. Entering deep work with a plan reduces mental friction and keeps the mind aligned with purpose. When every session has intention, the work becomes measurable and progress is easier to observe. Small successes reinforce motivation and strengthen the habit. During deep work, attention must remain fully on the task. This requires monitoring the mind for distractions, both internal and external. Thoughts about unrelated tasks, messages, or worries often arise. Rather than suppressing them, acknowledge the thought and gently return focus to the work. This practice strengthens cognitive control, gradually increasing the ability to sustain attention even when distractions are inevitable. The benefits of daily deep work extend beyond productivity. Focused attention enhances learning and problem solving. When the mind is fully engaged, patterns become visible, connections are made, and insight emerges more readily. Tasks completed in deep focus are often of higher quality, requiring less rework and producing more meaningful outcomes. This reinforces the value of the practice and encourages continued commitment. Short sessions also reduce mental fatigue. Long periods of continuous work without breaks can overwhelm the brain and lead to mistakes. Training focus in concise, deliberate intervals respects cognitive limits, while providing maximum efficiency. Over time, the mind becomes more resilient, able to handle longer or more complex work without compromising quality. This progressive adaptation is key to mastering sustained attention. Reflection after each session is valuable. Review what was accomplished, note areas where attention wandered, and adjust strategies for the next session. This self-awareness strengthens focus by identifying patterns, triggers, and techniques that enhance concentration. Learning from each session ensures that every period of deep work contributes to growth rather than simply occupying time. Focus and discipline are closely intertwined. Scheduling deep work sessions each day teaches self-regulation. The mind learns that certain periods are dedicated to high-value effort, reducing the tendency to procrastinate. Discipline is reinforced by routine, and routine strengthens focus. Over time, entering a state of deep work becomes automatic, requiring less struggle and more natural engagement. Tracking progress enhances motivation. When you measure the number of focused sessions, the amount of work completed, or the complexity handled, you create a feedback loop that encourages consistency. Seeing tangible results reinforces the practice and demonstrates the power of deliberate, sustained attention. Growth becomes visible, further reinforcing the habit of daily deep work. The approach to deep work should be flexible, yet structured. Life is unpredictable, and strict rigidity can lead to frustration. Allow adjustments in timing or length when necessary, but never eliminate the session entirely. Maintaining the habit, even in modified form, preserves the cognitive benefits and ensures momentum is not lost. Flexibility within discipline builds resilience and adaptability. Daily deep work strengthens mental clarity. When the mind becomes accustomed to focused attention, it can filter distractions more effectively in other areas of life. Decision-making improves, problems are solved more efficiently, and creativity flourishes. This clarity emerges not from effort alone, but from repeated practice in concentrated engagement. The act of returning repeatedly to focus builds endurance. The brain is trained to sustain attention despite interruptions or temptations. Each session reinforces neural pathways associated with concentration, gradually increasing capacity. Over time, tasks that once felt overwhelming or mentally exhausting become manageable, and complex work can be approached with confidence. Deep work also fosters self-trust. By consistently showing up for these sessions, you demonstrate to yourself that effort leads to results. This internal reliability strengthens confidence, reduces procrastination, and enhances the ability to tackle challenges independently. Trust in your own attention becomes a foundation for sustained achievement. Ultimately, daily short, deep work sessions create a powerful habit that transforms productivity, clarity, and competence. Each session, though brief, compounds over time, strengthening focus, refining skill, and producing meaningful output. Attention becomes a trained resource rather than a scattered commodity. Life becomes more deliberate, each action aligned with purpose, and progress becomes measurable and consistent. Through repeated practice, focus becomes a muscle that grows stronger with every session. The ability to concentrate deeply enhances learning, problem-solving, and performance. By committing to structured, intentional periods of attention each day, you cultivate a mind capable of navigating complexity, producing high-quality results, and sustaining growth over the long term. Mastery of focus, like any skill, is built patiently, deliberately, and consistently, one session at a time. Chapter 18. Balance effort and rest to sustain progress and creativity. Sustained progress and creativity are not products of constant effort alone. Pushing relentlessly without pause may produce short-term results, but over time it depletes energy, diminishes clarity, and stifles innovation. True growth comes from balancing effort with rest, recognizing that recovery is an essential part of the cycle of achievement. The mind and body require periods of stillness to consolidate learning, generate insight, and prepare for the next challenge. Effort and rest are complementary, not opposing forces. Work without rest leads to fatigue, reduced focus, and increased error. Rest without effort produces stagnation, unfulfilled potential, and untapped capability. Achieving meaningful results requires a deliberate rhythm that alternates intense action with restorative pauses. This balance ensures momentum is maintained without burning out, allowing creativity and resilience to flourish. Understanding personal energy cycles is crucial. Everyone has periods during the day when concentration is naturally higher and periods when mental resources are lower. Identifying these cycles allows work to be aligned with peak focus, while rest and lower intensity tasks are scheduled during natural dips. This self-awareness maximizes efficiency and preserves energy for tasks that require deep thinking or sustained attention. Rest is not merely the absence of work, it is active recovery. Activities that replenish the mind and body, such as sleep, short walks, meditation, or engaging hobbies, allow the brain to process information and form connections. Creativity often emerges in these periods of stillness because the mind can combine ideas freely, unhindered by pressure or fatigue. Restful moments become a fertile ground for insight and problem solving. Deliberate pacing of work enhances endurance. Attempting to accomplish too much in a single stretch can overwhelm the system and lead to diminishing returns. Structuring the day with clear periods of concentrated effort, followed by restorative breaks, allows for sustained output without sacrificing quality. This approach trains both discipline and self-awareness, creating a sustainable model for long-term productivity. Mental clarity is deeply connected to balanced effort. When the mind is overloaded, decision-making becomes impaired, focus fragments, and creativity stalls. Regular rest reduces cognitive noise, sharpens perception, and enhances the ability to approach problems with clarity. Breaks are not wasted time, they are investments in sharper thinking and more effective action. Consistency in balancing effort and rest is as important as the practice itself. Sporadic bursts of intense activity followed by neglect of recovery undermine progress. Creating routines that integrate both work and rest establishes a predictable structure that the mind and body adapt to. This consistency builds resilience, enabling sustained performance even under pressure. The quality of effort matters more than quantity alone. Focused, intentional work periods generate greater results than prolonged, distracted activity. By pairing these high-quality sessions with restorative breaks, each period of effort becomes more effective, and the cumulative output is higher than extended labor without pause. Efficiency and creativity improve simultaneously. Boundaries are essential. Protecting periods of rest from intrusion by work, notifications, or other obligations is vital. Clear separation between effort and recovery signals to the mind that it can fully disengage, allowing true restoration. This separation enhances both energy and mental clarity, ensuring that when work resumes, it can be approached with full capacity. Physical health underpins sustained effort and creativity. Adequate sleep, proper nutrition, hydration, and movement support energy levels and cognitive performance. Neglecting these fundamentals diminishes the effectiveness of both work and rest. Viewing self-care as an integral component of the work-rest balance elevates productivity and fosters long-term resilience. Reflection is part of the balance. Taking time to review what has been accomplished, assess progress, and adjust strategies ensures that effort is focused on meaningful outcomes. Reflection acts as both a mental pause and a guide, informing future action and preventing wasted energy on tasks that do not contribute to growth. This deliberate pause enhances the efficiency of both work and rest. Rest also nurtures emotional regulation. Continuous effort without pause increases stress and heightens reactivity, which can lead to poor decisions, conflict, and diminished creativity. Recovery periods allow the nervous system to recalibrate, stabilizing emotions and enhancing the ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Balanced energy management fosters not only productivity but also psychological resilience. Small, regular breaks are as important as longer periods of rest. Short pauses during work sessions, such as brief walks, stretching, or deep breathing, prevent fatigue from building too quickly. These micro-rests refresh attention, maintain focus, and reduce cognitive strain, ensuring that energy is replenished before it declines to critical levels. Balancing effort and rest encourages sustainable innovation. Creativity often arises at the intersection of activity and reflection. Work generates raw ideas, while rest allows the mind to process, reorganize, and synthesize insights. This cycle transforms initial effort into polished solutions, making progress more intelligent and enduring. Mindset plays a role in honoring rest. Many people undervalue recovery, viewing it as laziness or unproductive time. Reframing rest as an active component of achievement aligns actions with long-term objectives. Recognizing that restoration directly enhances performance, creativity, and decision-making fosters a disciplined approach to balancing energy. Energy management extends to prioritization. Allocate the highest energy periods to the most demanding tasks. Use lower energy periods for routine or administrative work, leaving peak capacity for activities that require focus, innovation, or complex problem-solving. Strategically distributing effort prevents burnout and ensures that recovery is sufficient to sustain performance. Integration of effort and rest enhances resilience. When setbacks or unexpected challenges arise, a balanced mind and body are better equipped to respond effectively. Recovery periods build capacity to adapt, absorb stress, and maintain composure. This balance strengthens both performance and well-being, making progress not only possible but sustainable over time. Creativity and problem-solving are amplified by rest. During recovery, the brain reorganizes information, forming novel connections that might not emerge during continuous work. Solutions often appear during walks, showers, or quiet reflection. Integrating rest as a deliberate component of the workflow ensures that ideas continue to evolve beyond the confines of active labor. Ultimately, the rhythm of effort and rest underpins sustainable achievement. Each work period contributes to progress, while each rest period consolidates learning, restores energy, and nurtures insight. By honoring this balance, performance is maintained, creativity flourishes, and long-term growth becomes attainable. Progress is no longer a matter of relentless exertion, but a disciplined, strategic cycle that maximizes human capacity. Balancing effort and rest transforms not only results, but also experience. Life becomes less exhausting, more focused, and deeply rewarding. Achievement is sustained not through relentless pushing, but through intelligent management of energy, attention, and recovery. The deliberate integration of work and pause cultivates clarity, creativity, and resilience, creating a foundation for enduring success and meaningful accomplishment. Chapter 19. Review outcomes weekly to celebrate wins and refine strategy. Weekly reflection is a cornerstone of growth and sustained achievement. Progress is not a product of effort alone. It is the result of deliberate evaluation, learning and adjustment. By reviewing outcomes regularly, you create the space to assess accomplishments, identify patterns, and refine strategies, ensuring that each week builds on the last. This habit transforms routine activity into meaningful progress and prevents small mistakes from compounding into larger setbacks. The practice begins with clarity. At the end of each week, take stock of what was achieved, what challenges arose, and what actions produced tangible results. Recording these observations in a journal or digital document allows for objective assessment. Seeing accomplishments and obstacles clearly provides a foundation for informed decisions, helping you separate productive behaviors from those that consume energy without meaningful output. Celebrating wins, no matter how small, reinforces progress. Acknowledging success is not about vanity, it is about recognition of effort, consistency, and strategy. Celebrations, simple moments of reflection, noting progress in a journal or verbal acknowledgement, strengthen motivation and reinforce positive habits. Recognizing wins fuels momentum, making it easier to approach the next week with energy and confidence. Equally important is analyzing areas that fell short of expectations. Failures are not evidence of inadequacy, but opportunities to gather insight. Examine what contributed to unmet goals, missteps, or delays. Identify whether these were due to planning errors, execution gaps, unforeseen obstacles, or resource limitations. Each setback carries valuable data that, when interpreted honestly, informs the adjustments necessary for improvement. A structured approach enhances the review process. Begin by listing major objectives set for the week and noting which were achieved fully, partially, or not at all. Follow with an assessment of actions taken, resources utilized, and any deviations from the plan. This methodical reflection converts vague impressions into actionable insight. Clarity arises not from vague contemplation but from detailed examination of outcomes and processes. Patterns often emerge during weekly reviews. Repeated successes indicate strategies worth reinforcing. Recurring obstacles reveal habits or decisions that require attention. Identifying these trends allows you to refine systems, streamline workflows, and optimize effort. Awareness of patterns prevents repeating ineffective approaches and ensures that energy is directed towards strategies that yield results. Reflection is most effective when approached without judgment. Emotional responses to success or failure should be acknowledged, but not allowed to dominate analysis. Objectivity creates space for clear assessment and rational decision-making. By separating emotion from evaluation, you ensure that insights are practical, actionable, and forward-focused rather than reactive or self-critical. Weekly reviews create accountability. Even if no one else monitors your progress, the act of documenting outcomes fosters personal responsibility. Regular review highlights gaps between intention and action, making it easier to correct course before issues compound. Accountability strengthens discipline, encourages consistent effort, and ensures that progress remains aligned with larger goals. Integration of reflection into planning enhances effectiveness. Insights gained during review should directly inform the following week's strategy. Adjust goals, reallocate resources, and refine workflows based on the lessons learned. This continuous cycle of assessment and adjustment ensures that effort is always directed toward meaningful outcomes, turning accumulated knowledge into practical action. The review process also supports creativity and problem-solving. Stepping back from daily activity provides perspective, enabling the mind to see connections, alternatives, and opportunities that may have been overlooked in the moment. Reflection nurtures insight by allowing time for thoughtful evaluation, often revealing more effective approaches or innovative solutions. Consistency is essential. Conducting reviews sporadically diminishes their value. By embedding weekly reflection into routine, you establish a rhythm that ensures regular feedback, continuous learning, and steady progress. This consistency reinforces self-awareness, encourages strategic thinking, and maintains momentum, even when weeks present challenges or distractions. A key component of effective review is prioritization. Not all outcomes carry equal significance. Identify which actions contributed most to meaningful progress and which consumed effort without substantial return. Focus adjustments on high-impact areas to maximize efficiency. This strategic perspective ensures that time, energy, and attention are directed where they produce the greatest benefit. Celebrating wins also strengthens resilience. Recognition of progress reminds you of your capability and reinforces belief in your approach, even when setbacks occur. A balanced reflection, acknowledging success while analyzing shortcomings, builds confidence and fosters the mindset necessary to persist through obstacles and maintain consistent growth over time. Documenting reflections creates a record that accumulates insight over months and years. This historical perspective enables long-term analysis, revealing trends, improvements, and areas of recurring challenge. Reviewing this record periodically allows for strategic planning, with the benefit of hindsight, increasing effectiveness and reducing repeated mistakes. Weekly review enhances focus. By stepping back and evaluating outcomes, it becomes clear which activities contribute to goals and which are distractions. This awareness allows you to refine priorities, eliminate unnecessary effort, and concentrate on actions that produce meaningful results. Focused effort, guided by reflection, amplifies progress and reduces wasted energy. The process also nurtures self-discipline. The commitment to review and refine strategies each week strengthens the habit of intentional action. Self-discipline is reinforced not by rigid adherence to a plan, but by thoughtful assessment and deliberate adjustment, ensuring that behavior remains aligned with purpose and objectives. Incorporating feedback from external sources enhances the review. Perspectives from colleagues, mentors, or trusted peers provide additional data points, revealing blind spots or confirming insights. Combining self-reflection with informed input creates a comprehensive view, increasing the accuracy and effectiveness of strategy adjustments. Reflection fosters adaptability. When conditions change, a practice of weekly review allows quick recalibration. Rather than reacting chaotically to new challenges, you can respond with informed decisions based on accumulated insight. This adaptability ensures that progress remains steady, even in uncertain or evolving circumstances. Ultimately, weekly review is a tool for both consolidation and forward planning. It allows recognition of achievement, identification of improvement areas, and integration of lessons into future strategies. By consistently reviewing outcomes, growth becomes deliberate, challenges become opportunities for refinement, and effort translates into meaningful results. The habit of weekly reflection transforms activity into progress. Each week becomes a building block, informed by evidence, guided by insight, and reinforced by recognition of achievement. Consistent application ensures that goals are met with greater efficiency, strategies are continuously optimized, and growth is steady, measurable, and intentional. The practice cultivates clarity, resilience, and effectiveness, creating a framework where every week contributes meaningfully to long-term success. Chapter 20. Share solutions generously to build trust, grow support, and impact. Sharing solutions is a practice that amplifies impact far beyond individual effort. Knowledge and insight gain value only when applied, and their influence multiplies when offered to others. Generosity in providing solutions fosters trust, strengthens relationships, and cultivates a network of support that benefits everyone involved. It transforms isolated effort into collaborative progress, creating an environment where growth is not zero-sum, but shared and reinforced through collective engagement. Providing solutions begins with clarity and understanding. Before sharing, it is important to have fully analyzed the problem and tested potential approaches. Solutions that are precise, actionable, and reliable generate confidence in your perspective. When others see that your guidance is grounded in experience and careful reasoning, trust is naturally established. Trust becomes a foundation upon which cooperation, collaboration, and long-term relationships are built. Generosity in sharing solutions is not limited to large-scale contributions or monumental ideas. Even small, practical insights can have profound effects when applied at the right moment. Offering a concise strategy, a practical method, or a piece of guidance tailored to someone's immediate challenge demonstrates attentiveness and care. This consistent, reliable generosity strengthens credibility and reinforces the perception that you are a source of valuable support. Sharing solutions also builds reciprocal networks. When individuals experience the benefit of your guidance, they are more inclined to respond in kind when you seek input, assistance, or collaboration. Relationships evolve from transactional to mutually supportive, creating a system of collective intelligence. A community that exchanges solutions regularly becomes stronger, more resourceful, and more resilient. The act of sharing fosters clarity in your own thinking. Articulating a solution requires organizing your understanding, anticipating potential challenges, and explaining steps clearly. This process not only helps others, but also sharpens your own insight. Solutions that are explained well are often refined and strengthened in the process, ensuring that guidance is both effective and precise. Empathy is central to sharing solutions effectively. Understanding the context, challenges, and goals of the recipient ensures that guidance is relevant and actionable. Solutions offered without consideration of context may be ignored or misapplied. Thoughtful, context-sensitive sharing demonstrates respect, builds rapport, and enhances the likelihood of successful application. Transparency in sharing enhances credibility. When the reasoning behind a solution is communicated, it provides insight into thought processes, decision-making criteria, and potential limitations. Transparency allows others to trust not only the solution but also the judgment behind it. This trust extends beyond a single interaction, establishing a pattern of reliability that strengthens influence over time. Generosity in solutions encourages collaboration. By openly sharing strategies, others are empowered to contribute, refine, and expand upon them. This collaborative approach leads to better outcomes than isolated effort, because multiple perspectives and experiences converge. A shared solution becomes a platform for innovation, enabling ideas to evolve and improve through collective input. Consistency reinforces influence. Regularly offering guidance, insights, and solutions establishes a reputation as someone who adds value to others. Over time, this consistency builds authority and respect, creating a network of individuals who look to your perspective for guidance. Reputation is not established through occasional assistance, but through sustained, reliable contribution. Sharing solutions cultivates leadership without authority. Influence does not require formal position. It grows from the ability to provide meaningful help and insight. Individuals who contribute solutions consistently inspire trust, respect, and engagement, which naturally attracts collaboration and support. Leadership emerges organically through generosity and demonstrated competence. Impact is amplified when solutions are shared widely. One person applying an idea benefits directly, but when multiple individuals implement a strategy, the cumulative effect is substantial. Solutions propagate knowledge, streamline processes, and elevate collective performance. The act of sharing transforms personal capability into systemic improvement, extending influence far beyond individual effort. Teaching others through solutions strengthens culture. Organizations, teams, and communities that embrace shared problem-solving develop a mindset oriented toward growth, cooperation, and continuous learning. Norms of open communication, support, and shared knowledge foster environments where challenges are addressed proactively and collective intelligence flourishes. The process of sharing solutions also encourages humility, recognizing that insight has value when applied, rather than when hoarded shifts focus from self-interest to collective success. Humility allows you to communicate clearly, listen actively, and adapt advice based on feedback, ensuring that solutions are effective rather than imposed. Feedback loops enhance the value of shared solutions. Observing how others implement guidance provides insight into its effectiveness, revealing adjustments or clarifications needed. Iterative sharing improves both the original solution and your ability to communicate effectively, creating a dynamic process of continuous refinement. Sharing solutions strengthens relationships through trust. Reliability, competence, and helpfulness are all reinforced when others see that your contributions are practical and actionable. Trust is not instantaneous, it is built over repeated interactions where your guidance consistently produces results. This trust forms the foundation for collaboration, mutual support, and long-term influence. Empowerment is a key outcome of generous solution sharing. When others are equipped with actionable strategies, they gain confidence, independence, and capability. Empowered individuals contribute more effectively, generate solutions themselves, and expand the network of competence. By lifting others, you indirectly expand the reach and effectiveness of your own insight. Ethical responsibility accompanies sharing. Solutions must be accurate, applicable, and considerate of potential consequences. Misguided or incomplete guidance can erode trust and produce harm. Ensuring that advice is well considered, actionable, and aligned with ethical standards strengthens credibility and amplifies positive impact. Generosity in sharing solutions reinforces personal growth. Each interaction challenges you to clarify thought, anticipate obstacles, and communicate effectively. The act of teaching, guiding, and assisting strengthens skill, deepens understanding, and hones judgment. Contribution becomes a mirror for personal development, accelerating learning through application. Ultimately, sharing solutions creates a culture of abundance. Knowledge, strategies, and insights become tools for collective progress rather than personal advantage alone. Each act of generosity multiplies impact, builds lasting trust, and cultivates support networks that enhance both individual and group achievement. Generous sharing transforms isolated knowledge into enduring influence, creating a cycle where giving leads to growth, collaboration, and meaningful results. By consistently offering solutions, refining guidance based on feedback, and ensuring applicability, influence expands organically, trust deepens, relationships strengthen, and collective capability grows. Generosity becomes a strategic practice that not only elevates others, but also accelerates personal and professional impact. Sharing solutions is not merely an act of kindness, it is a deliberate pathway to building trust, expanding support, and leaving a meaningful legacy of positive influence.